Douluo, my Sharingan isn't very proper. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 76 I've Killed Someone Again. Recalling Ayan's final, hateful gaze, Tang Hao felt a sudden, heart-wrenching pain. No, he roared, as if all his strength had been drained, collapsing to his knees. Watching the dissipating green light, he trembled with agony. My Ayan. My Ayan. He waved his hands frantically in the air, trying to grasp the light, to hold on to his Ayan. No. However, as the green light gradually faded, nothing remained except a bamboo skewer on the ground. The unique fragrance of the blue-silver emperor dissipated in the air, the warmth in his hands vanished, and Tang Hao's heart turned icy cold. He stared at his hands in disbelief, tears streaming down his face. He shakily picked up the bamboo skewer. He never imagined that Ayan would rather die than acknowledge him. Gone. Everything's gone. I actually killed Ayan again. Overwhelmed with remorse, his face contorted in a grimace, tears and snot mingling with the bloodstains on his cheeks, a mixture of crying and laughing, his features twisted. He resembled a murderous demon. A surge of killing intent rushed to his brain, and Tang Hao couldn't help but roar, cracks appearing on the walls along the street. His eyes turned bloodshot, and a violent killing intent surged forth with his killing god domain, 9 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, and 1 red. Slowly rising beneath him. The red spirit ring was particularly dazzling. Ending wrong, tears streaming down her face, covered her mouth, almost screaming, trembling under Tang Hao's killing intent. She finally understood why Xiao Lan had been urging her to leave. This disheveled beggar was actually a titled Douluo. Suppressing her fear, Ningrongrong slowly retreated and quickly left the area. She ran far away, and then burst into tears. She regretted it. She shouldn't have brought Xiao Lan out to play. How was she going to explain this to Yichu? Having just experienced the Sunset Forest incident, she was on the verge of collapse. The person she had brought out was gone again. Xiao Lan. Yichu, I'm sorry. Why? As she stumbled and staggered towards the 7 treasure glazed tile school. On the original street, Tang Hao had already picked up the clear sky hammer, and like a madman, he kept smashing it down on the shops on both sides. Boom. Bang! Houses collapsed, and debris flew everywhere. A terrifying aura surged outwards. The destructive power of a titled Douluo was terrifying. Countless innocent civilians were affected. Run! This bastard has gone mad. Tang Hao's aura had been sensed by many people. The royal knights and the spirit hall were the first to arrive at the scene, and many soul masters were watching from a distance. Where did this titled Douluo come from? That's the clear sky hammer. Someone, Spirit Hall Bishop Salas recognized him at a glance. My lord, report this immediately. Tang Hao has appeared. Yes, Salas immediately arranged for his men to act. Tang Hao continued his rampage, unable to forgive himself. He had actually killed Ayan again. Right in front of him. Right before his eyes. He had forced her to her death. Ayan, he wailed incessantly. Deeply consumed by pain and self-blame, unable to extricate himself, his clear sky hammer, stained with blood, swept across the surroundings. Clang. A dark opening appeared in the void. Ning Fengzi, Sword Douluo, and Bone Douluo arrived. Uncle Sword. What's wrong with Tang Hao? Has he gone mad? He must have suffered some kind of blow. It must be related to Ayan, whom he mentioned. Sword Douluo stood on his sword, sensing the violent killing intent emanating from Tang Hao, his expression somewhat grave. I never imagined that the mighty Haoshan Douluo would fall to such a state. Feng Shui, do you think we should stop him? Bone Douluo crossed his arms, quietly watching Tang Hao with a somewhat wistful expression. It seems we don't need to intervene, Ning Fengzi said to the two, pointing to a noblewoman-like woman below. The newcomer appeared to be an ordinary person, with no trace of soul power fluctuations. She wore a silver palace dress, was tall, had exquisite features, and an incomparably noble air. Strangely, Her nobility did not instill any pressure in others, only gentleness and tranquility could be felt. Her light blue hair was styled in a bun, adorned with the golden hair ornaments, and long bangs fell on either side of her face. Her eyes were calm, and her expression indifferent. She was approaching the already crazed Tang Hao step by step. "Stop her," Salus's voice rang out. He couldn't let Tang Hao escape so easily. Whoosh! A sharp sword, like the sword of Damocles, hovered above his head. Sword Douluo's voice was icy. "Salus, doesn't your spirit wall care about the lives of ordinary people?" Salus's face was grim, his eyes clouded, but he dared not be arrogant any longer, forcing a smile. "How? Sword Douluo, what are you saying?" "I was afraid Tang Xuanzi would be harmed, so I tried to stop him." A golden ring appeared on the woman in palace attire, its golden light slowly spreading. Spring breezes swept across Lugu Lake, autumn rains soaked Jiazhigao. Wherever the golden light passed, everyone's hearts became incredibly calm, as if enveloped in warm sunshine, their gloomy hearts replaced by brightness. The bloodthirsty killing intent in Tang Hao's eyes gradually faded, his eyes regaining their clarity. He stopped what he was doing. Turning back to look at the woman in palace attire, he dared not look directly at her, his eyes filled with shame. Yuhua, scanning his surroundings, he realized he had almost met his demise. Seeing the menacing spirit hall members surrounding him, perhaps not wanting her to be implicated, Tang Hao didn't speak to her. After glancing at her again, he left without looking back. No one dared to stop him, even Salus, whose cultivation was only at the Soul Douluo level, could only watch helplessly. Tang Yuhu looked in the direction he left with complicated emotions. She didn't understand why, after all, it was their scheme, they were now acting like this, so desperate. "How?" he chuckled mockingly, yet with a touch of heartache, and walked gracefully towards Yuxuan. After Xiaolan committed suicide, she returned to Yichu's body. Yichu also received the information Xiaolan shared with him. At this moment, he was rushing towards Heaven Dao City without stopping, his Sharingan eyes never closing the entire way, purple energy swirling in his pupils. He had to find Ning Rongrong as soon as possible. On the way back to the 7 treasure glazed tile school, Ning Rongrong kept running, never stopping for a moment. "What? Xiaolan Yichu. I'm sorry. I'm sorry," she kept repeating these words. She cried all the way out of Xiandao City. The more she thought about it, the more frightened she became. She was afraid that Yichu would treat her like the relatives of the deceased disciples, verbally abusing her and threatening to kill her. Her tears were almost dried up. She collapsed to the ground, exhausted from running, having fallen countless times. Now she was covered in dust and mud, her face wet with tears and smudged with grime, a messy, dirty face. But she didn't want to stop. She had to go back to find Grandpa Sword and Grandpa Bone, and kill that murderer. She couldn't let him get away. All she wanted now was to go home. Enduring the pain, she slowly pushed herself up and ran forward again. Her knees were bleeding. "Ning Rongrong," a voice rang in her ears. Startled, she looked up and saw Yichu running towards her. "Are you alright?" Yichu quickly ran over to help her up. No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me." Ning Rongrong stumbled and scrambled backward, unable to look at Yichu, already somewhat delirious. Yichu grabbed her, but she struggled incessantly. "Calm down, it wasn't me. Yichu. It wasn't me, I know it wasn't you, calm down." Yichu grabbed her hand and pulled her into his arms. Blue Silver Emperor's second soul skill, Blue Silver Fragrance. Gradually, the unique aura of the Blue Silver Emperor soothed her emotions, and she stopped struggling. She only sobbed, uttering words of panic and self-blame. "Yichu, did I kill someone again? Little Blue is gone. It's all my fault, all my fault." Chapter 77 Reaction. Perhaps due to exhaustion, prolonged crying, and the shock, she barely uttered a few words before her breathing became steady, and she soon fell asleep. Yichu breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, she was alright, otherwise, he wouldn't know how to explain it to Ning Fengzi. Speaking of which, none of the 3 of them are in the sect, they must have already headed to Xiandao City. Realizing what had happened, Yichu immediately went to look for Ning Fengzi and the others, but couldn't find them. It seemed they had been drawn away when Tang Hao's aura was revealed. He picked up Ning Rongrong, a vortex appeared, and the 2 disappeared from their spot. Reappearing through the divine might space, they were back at the 7 treasure glazed tile school. He placed her on the bed. "Brother, is Sister Rongrong alright?" The mark on Yichu's chest flickered, And Xiao Lan's voice came through. "What do you think?" he retorted irritably. Her disappearance in front of Ning Rongrong had terribly frightened her. She still looked haggard. "It's all Tang Hao's fault. If Rongrong and I weren't still shopping, Xiaolin hasn't finished her candied hawthorns. He's so annoying." Hearing her gritted teeth, Yichu fell silent, feeling sorry for Ning Rongrong. "Alright. You'd better hurry up and solidify your body again, okay brother, help me." Glancing at the still unconscious Ning Rongrong, Yichu sat cross-legged by the bed, controlling his soul power to flow into his heart. Half an hour later, green fluorescence slowly seeped from Yichu's body, drifting away and gathering to form a faint human figure beside him. Gradually, the figure solidified, becoming a physical entity. "Brother," before Yichu could open his eyes, a heavy object slammed into his arms. "It hurts so much here." She pointed to her neck, looking at Yichu with watery eyes, pouting, seeking comfort. "Ah!" Xiaolin cried out in pain, clutching her forehead, tears welling in her eyes. "It's all over. Why does it still hurt?" He glanced at her speechlessly, and at the same time, flicked her forehead. "But, it really hurt before, that feeling of death, it was so unbearable." As she spoke, her eyes welled up with tears. She hugged Yichu and leaned against him. "Xiaolan is so scared that she won't see her brother again." Yichu returned the hug, gently patting her shoulder. "Don't worry, brother will definitely avenge you in the future." Just after comforting her, Yichu was chased out of the room by Xiaolan, who wanted to wipe Ning Rongrong's body. Sigh. This treatment, standing outside the door, Yichu felt a little resentful. It's only been a few days? Now that she has a sister, she doesn't want her brother anymore. He returned to the pavilion and sat down, waiting quietly. Leaning against the stone table, his thoughts had already drifted far away. "I wonder how Xiao Wu is doing in Soto City. I'll be able to see her again then." "Ah, Sister Rongrong." "Ouch!" Ning Rongrong's scream suddenly came from the room, interrupting Yichu's thoughts. "Ah! Xiaolan. Don't come any closer. It wasn't me who hurt you." Her voice was trembling with tears and fear. Yichu rushed over, but was stopped by Xiaolan's voice just as he was about to open the door. "Brother, don't come in. Sister Rongrong isn't wearing any clothes." Inside the room, Ning Rongrong was sitting on the bed, backing away, squeezing against the wall, trembling. Xiaolan had already been kicked off the bed and was rubbing her chest, her eyes brimming with tears. Meanwhile, the major powers had also learned that Tang Hao had appeared in Yongdao City. East Palace. Crown Prince Zhu King's residence. The porcupine Douluo was reporting to Zhu King about Tang Hao's appearance in Yongdao City that day. "Young master. What should we do? What should we do? Do you have any trace of him?" "HMPH, let's put that aside for now. I'll write a memorial to Zhu Yi and have the Clear Sky sect compensate for the losses this time." Spirit City. Papal Palace. A somewhat alluring blonde man stood below, bowing respectfully. "Your Holiness. Do we need to find Tang Hao?" "No need. Let those old fogies handle it. They're not in a hurry, so why should I?" The various factions had different attitudes towards this matter. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan maintained its indifferent attitude, as if it were none of their business. As for Tang Hao's origins, the Clear Sky sect. Inside, there was already a chorus of curses. Having already closed their mountain stronghold, their lives were already very difficult. Now, with a large sum of compensation added out of nowhere, their already impoverished lives were made even worse. Tang Xiao was also arguing fiercely with several elders. "Nonsense. Tang Hao is no longer a member of our Haoshan sect. Why should we compensate him for the losses he caused?" "Elders. Why don't we take this opportunity to..." "Shut up. Tang Hao is no longer a disciple of our Haoshan sect, and now he's caused trouble again and wants to come back? Doesn't he want to pay back the debts he owed before? He brought this all on himself." Inside the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, Ning Fengzi and the others had returned and were inquiring about Ning Rongrong's whereabouts from their servants. "Sect Master. Miss Rongrong is currently at young Master Yichu's residence." Now, Ning Rongrong was no longer trembling. After Xiaolan's patient explanation, she had calmed down. She was in her room, constantly rubbing Xiaolan's tender face. Holding her cheeks, tears streamed down her face. She was crying tears of joy, and hugged Xiaolan tightly. "Xiaolan, that's great. You're really alright, Sister Rongrong. It's all Xiaolan's fault. I scared you." Silently patting Ning Rongrong's head, she was increasingly enjoying playing the little adult, her eyes narrowing. Sister, wrong. You'd better put your clothes on quickly. Otherwise, brother will come in and see everything, haha. Okay, Ning Rong, whose face had been pale, now had a touch of red on her cheeks and nodded gently. Xiaolan? Are you alright? Hearing the shouts, cries, laughter, and then silence inside, Yichu couldn't help but urge her on. Click. The door opened, and Ning Rong was there. She had changed into a spaghetti-strap nightgown, her delicate collarbones and shoulders exposed, the hem of the dress barely covering her bottom, the sheer material revealing glimpses of her skin. Her swollen eyes and haggard face gave her a broken look. Her smooth, lotus root-like arms and long, slender legs were dazzling. Noticing Yichu's gaze, she felt a mix of embarrassment and anger, but the thought of that night only left her with resentment. She glared at Yichu with her beautiful eyes. What are you looking at, you jerk? Ning Rong's ears turned slightly red. She had no other clothes in her soul tool. This outfit was something she'd just bought while shopping that day. Ah. Cough. I didn't mean to. Yichu withdrew his gaze, his face slightly embarrassed, his eyes practically rolling back in his head. He'd just been momentarily stunned. Are you alright? He scratched the back of his head awkwardly. No, I'm fine. Come in quickly. Chapter 78 Features. Yichu slipped into the room but didn't see Xiaolan. He sat down on the edge of the bed, and Ning Rong sat down next to him, just one person away. Ning Rong's skirt seemed even shorter as she sat down. Yichu, who had been looking down, quickly turned his head away, unsure where to look. He looked around, as if something was missing. Where's Xiaolan? Brother, Xiaolan's here. Xiaolan's clear voice came from a corner of the room. She's changing clothes behind the screen. Ning Rong pointed to the screen, a slight smile playing on her lips as she looked at his slightly flushed face. HMPH. This bastard's actually a bit of a hypocrite. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear to cover her reddened earlobes, and pulled the blanket over her legs with her other hand. Changing clothes? What's there for her to change? Yichu looked curiously towards the screen. He knew perfectly well that Xiaolan's clothes were all conjured by her own imagination. Brother. Xiaolan is all changed. Clang 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 clang. A petite figure jumped out from behind the screen, even adding her own entrance sound effects. Yichu was momentarily stunned. Xiaolan's original blue and gold patterned long dress was gone. She had changed into a white jade-colored fitted long robe, her hair was tied in a high ponytail, and a strand of blue bangs fell down her right forehead. Her slender waist was wrapped in a belt, making her appear much taller. She wore black and gold patterned boots, the sleeves of her robe close to her wrists, and she carried a long sword. Why are you dressed like this? Yichu's eyes lit up. HMPH. Doesn't it look good? Ning Rong glanced at him, quite satisfied with the current Xiaolan. Xiaolan's temperament had changed drastically. From her original noble and cute appearance, she had become lively, capable, and even possessed some of the dashing and heroic air of a martial arts hero from her previous life. Rong bought all of this for me. How you? Xiaolan laughed proudly, pouting and blowing on her bangs. She looked at Yichu, her eyes darting around. Suddenly, she put her hands behind her back, walked seriously to Yichu's side, and sat down between them. Ning Rong and Yichu both looked at her curiously. Brother Yichu turned to look at her, waiting for her to continue. She flicked her bangs with her left hand, a mischievous smile suddenly appearing on her face, making Yichu feel a little uneasy. The hilt of her sword was already pressed against his chin, gently lifting Yichu's head. He immediately sensed something was wrong and was about to make a move when Xiaolan lightly kissed his lips, laughing teasingly. Little lady tastes good. Brother. Xiaolan was wrong. PFFT, ha. Xiaolan covered her forehead with one hand, abandoned her sword with the other, grabbed Yichu's raised arm, and looked at him pleadingly. Ning Rong laughed loudly beside her. Yichu's face darkened as he glanced leisurely at Ning Rong. Did you teach this too? You're talking nonsense. I didn't teach you. Ning Rong laughed, almost breathless, and retorted with glaring eyes. Xiaolan lowered her head, playing with her little hands, her face flushed. I learned it from the older boys on the street. How? I see. Yichu sneered, immediately preparing to deliver the two-finger punch to teach her a lesson. Before he could even touch her, she cried out first. Brother. It hurts so much. Hair clutching her chest, her eyes filled with tears, she looked pitiful. I haven't even touched you yet. Yichu looked at her strangely. Xiao Lan then looked at Ning Rongrong, her eyes filled with resentment, and then accused Ning Rongrong of her crimes. It was Rongrong who kicked her. She kicked her to the foot of the bed. I didn't mean to. I thought Xiaolin was dead. Facing their gazes, Ning Rongrong's face flushed with embarrassment, and she waved her hands repeatedly. It wasn't entirely her fault. When she opened her eyes, she saw Xiaolin lying dead in front of her, her face pressed against hers. Startled, she instinctively thrashed about, accidentally kicking Xiaolin off the bed. Come here, let me take a look. Holding Xiaolin in his arms, Yichu placed his hand on her chest, a faint green light flashing in his hand. He didn't notice the smile that flickered across Xiaolin's rosy cheeks, the smugness in her eyes. Unfortunately, before she could be smug for long, Ning Rongrong erupted. Yichu, how can you put your hand like that? You beast! Seeing his hand pressed against Xiaolin's chest, she pulled Xiaolin close. The smile on Xiaolin's face hadn't faded yet, but it was already exposed to Yichu's eyes, slowly stiffening. Seeing the lingering cunning in her eyes, Yichu realized he'd been tricked. So much time had passed, how could she still be in pain? Besides, she still had 2 soul skills. You dare lie to me? Teasing him was one thing, but now she dared to lie to him. Enraged, he lunged at her. Xiaolan's face flashed with panic, and she instantly broke free from Ning Rongrong's grasp. Ah! Ning Rongrong exclaimed. Ah! Brother! Xiaolan has another set of clothes to change into. Having escaped, Xiaolan cried out in panic, not daring to look back, and dashed behind the screen. On the bed, only a man and a woman remained. Blue Eyes looked down at Qingtong. Ning Rongrong looked at Yichu on top of her, her face burning. He frowned slightly, feeling a slight discomfort in his left chest from the pressure. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Upon seeing clearly, Yichu quickly stood up and moved away from her. As if seeing something else shocking, Yichu quickly turned his back. He saw that Ning Rongrong's skirt had slipped down to her waist, exposing her pink pants. Sensing Yichu's unease, Ning Rongrong reacted, quickly pulling up her slip straps, lowering her skirt, and pulling the blanket over herself. Yichu! You bastard! Scumbag! Beast! You're disgusting! Yichu smiled bitterly, realizing he had gained 2 more adjectives for himself. The air fell silent. Yichu, too embarrassed to sit back down, sat at the table. Xiaolan. How did you explain it to Ning Rongrong? Yichu silently communicated with Xiaolan. Brother Xiaolan told her it's one of my special soul skills. Hearing Xiaolan's answer, Yichu breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, she hadn't revealed everything. Out of the corner of his eye, Yichu suddenly noticed Ning Rongrong staring intently at him, sending a chill down his spine. Yichu quickly urged Xiaolan, come out quickly once you're changed. No. Brother will bully me. Come out, I promise I won't flick you. Really, really, Yichu answered decisively. Just as he finished speaking, a blue-haired, green-clad butterfly-like girl flew out from behind the screen. The style of her clothes was actually similar to Ning Rongrong's usual attire. Brother Xiaolan was wrong. She ran out and immediately threw herself into Yichu's arms, hugging his neck, her face pressed against his, rubbing against him incessantly. All right. I've already forgiven you. He helplessly moved her face away. Kiss. Brother is the best. After kissing him, she immediately jumped away again. She picked up her long dress and twirled around in front of Yichu a few times. Brother. Sister Rongrong isn't Xiaolan pretty? Very pretty. Ning Rongrong was quite satisfied with the dress she had chosen. Yichu, however, was somewhat dazed. Looking at the bluish shadow before her, that familiar question echoed in her ears once more. Do you think I'm pretty? I'll back. Memories of that night flooded her mind like a tidal wave. 3 questions, 2 sips of strong liquor, a kiss. Her eyes involuntarily drifted towards Ning Rongrong, realizing she had indeed been a bit of a jerk. What are you looking at me for? Sitting on the bed, noticing Yichu staring at her, Ning Rongrong asked him with a straight face. Nothing. Yichu turned his face away, seemingly talking to himself. Actually, you're pretty too. Hearing this, a blush instantly rose on Ning Rongrong's face, mingling with the sunset light streaming in through the window, creating a breathtaking scene. That jerk, she knew Yichu was talking to her. Brother, are you talking about Xiaolan? Yes. Xiaolan is pretty too. Yichu nodded, a slight smile on his face. HMPH. Scumbag. Seeing him nod, having coaxed two girls with just one sentence, Ning Rongrong, who was initially touched, cursed again. Her voice froze Yichu's smile. Fortunately, this time there was only one word left. Gurgle. A soft sound came from the other side of the bed. Ning Rongrong lowered her head, her face flushed with embarrassment. He is Sister Rongrong hungry? Xiaolan pounced on the bed, leaning against her shoulder, her hand already on her stomach. Yes, Ning Rongrong nodded. I'll go have someone prepare some food and bring it over, and I'll also get you some clothes. Yichu got up and left. Thank you. Yichu, who had just reached the door, turned back to look at Ning Rongrong with some surprise. This young lady seemed to have become more polite. After Yichu left, Ning Rongrong and Xiaolan leaned against each other, looking at the sunset outside the window, recalling that night. That guy must have remembered that kiss. HMPH. The person this young lady has her eye on won't be easily given away. A slight smile played on her lips. At least for now, the advantage was hers. Xiaolan, can you tell me about your sister Zhu Qing? Sure. What are her special characteristics? Xiaolan thought for a moment, glanced at Ning Rongrong's chest, and blurted out, yes. She's bigger than Sister Rongrong. Then she looked at her own chest and patted it. Bigger than Xiaolan too. Anyway, every time she hugs my brother, he blushes. Xiaolan truthfully stated. This was indeed the most obvious and noticeable characteristic. Huh? Sister Rongrong, what's wrong? Xiaolan isn't wrong. Ning Rongrong forced a laugh, gritting her teeth as she glared at Xiaolan, wishing she could kick her down again. Why did she have to be put last? Even if your so-called sister Zhu Qing is exceptionally talented, and I can't compare to her, am I really inferior to a little girl like you? She straightened her back, glanced at her unchanging height, and then at Xiaolan's curves. Her face immediately turned bright red. There was no reason for this. Why was she like this? Sister Rongrong, why are you looking at me like that? Xiaolan clutched her chest, looking wary. Ning Rongrong felt like crying, her face flushed red. It was just too embarrassing. Chapter 79. Heavendao Royal Academy. The next morning, Yichu got up early. The purple aura in the east was fading. After finishing his cultivation of the purple demon eye on the rooftop, he leaped down and landed in front of Xiaolan's door. He wondered what the two of them had to talk about. They had kicked him out right after dinner yesterday. Knock, knock, knock. Yichu knocked on the door. Xiaolan. Your brother is going to the Heavenly Dao Royal Academy in the next few days. Don't leave the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School again. Understand, he didn't know if Tang Hao had actually left Heavenly Dao City yet, and it wasn't good to keep Xiaolan cooped up inside him. It was safest for her to stay here. Okay, Xiaolan came her sleepy voice from inside. Yichu was still a little worried. Miss Rongrong. Please take good care of Xiaolan. Don't take her outside, so noisy. How annoying. Can't I get some sleep? Bang. A banging sound came from inside. Yichu thought she must have thrown his shoe. If you're going to leave, then get lost. Stop bothering me. Yichu's face fell. What kind of illusion had he had yesterday that made him think Miss Ning was much more polite? Her morning grumpiness is so bad. All right then. I'm leaving now. Without further hesitation, a bloodlust appeared in his eyes. His jade pendant transformed into a 6-pointed star, its divine power concealing him. Using the special markers he had previously made near Yondao City, Yichu soon appeared not far from the city gate. However, he didn't need to enter the city this time. The Yondao Royal Academy occupied too much land. It couldn't provide such a large area in the expensive Yondao City. It was located less than 20 kilometers from Yondao City, encompassing a large mountain. The lake at the foot of the mountain and the forest behind it served as the students' training grounds. Finding a secluded path, Yichu once again mounted his long unseen jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger. Carrying Yichu, the tiger was also quite excited, running wildly along the way. Soon, Yichu arrived at the gate of the Yondao Royal Academy. The gate, carved from a single block of marble, was truly magnificent. Even the steps were crafted from white marble, each adorned with a different spirit beast pattern. Halt! Yichu was stopped by the guard as he was about to enter. Fortunately, Zhu Qing had already given him a token as proof. He handed it to the guard. So it's young Master Yichu. I didn't know your identity, please forgive me. The guard bowed respectfully. It's alright, Yichu waved his hand, it was nothing. Can I go in now? No problem. His Highness the Crown Prince has already given the order. Please follow me, young master. Yi Chu followed behind him, and upon entering, the flow of his spirit power increased considerably. Looking at the surrounding greenery, cultivating here using the blue-silver domain would be a good option. Having connections makes things easier. Yi Chu quickly completed the formalities, receiving his academy uniform and a small gilded badge engraved with the words Heavenly Fighting. He put away his academy uniform and pinned his badge to his chest. Yi Chu still preferred wearing his blue, fitted outfit, the kind with a stand-up collar, because it looked classy. After watching Yi Chu leave, the guard immediately sent someone to inform Zhu King. Walking slowly inside, Yi Chu didn't need to attend any classes, he went straight to his work. Searching for his target. Along the way, he saw quite a few students, each one acting arrogant and haughty. It was clear that the Heavenly Douluo Royal Academy truly lived up to its reputation as a noble academy directly under the Heavenly Douluo Royal family, with Emperor Zhu Yi himself serving as its dean. However, the cultivation levels of these students seemed generally quite low. The second team had been instantly defeated by the Shrek Academy team. As Yi Chu walked, he attracted frequent glances from female students, their eyes filled with flirtatious allure, and even some male students cast unfriendly glances. In such a large place, where am I supposed to find Du Guyan? Should I just join the Royal Dao team? Frowning, Yi Chu strolled along slowly when a commotion suddenly erupted ahead. A group of people were gathered together, seemingly watching something exciting. Say yes. Say yes, someone shouted. Enough, a somewhat cold female voice rang out. I didn't expect to encounter someone confessing their love. That voice, it seems familiar. Stopping, Yi Chu quickly stepped forward. Upon seeing the figures gathered, a cold glint flashed in his eyes. It was Yi Lingling, whom Yi Chu had met once before and who had helped him. And the one confessing was none other than Sabu Chu, the one who had clashed with him that day and even sent people to hunt him down, attempting to kidnap Xiaolan. At this moment, the ground within the crowd was covered with roses, but the original heart-shaped arrangement was now tattered. Yi Lingling, wearing a black veil and a long black dress, exuded her usual deathly aura, her eyes calm yet cold, keeping everyone at arm's length. Sabu Chu. I'll say it again, I won't agree to you, Lingling. Why? I've been pursuing you for so long, there has to be a reason, right? Sabu Chu had dark circles under his eyes, sunken eye sockets, and unsteady steps. He looked like someone who had overindulged in excessive sexual activity. The deep affection on his face only made him look disgusting. There's no reason, and also, don't call me Lingling, Yi Lingling said coldly. Okay. Lingling, Sabu Chu replied, seemingly unfazed. He had finally managed to wait until Du Guyan wasn't following him, so of course he wanted to seize the opportunity, preferably taking her outside and getting a home run. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but lick his lips. Looking at the person blocking her way, Yi Lingling's eyes were filled with undisguised disgust. Whatever, don't bother me, she turned to leave. But Sabu Chu wasn't so easily shaken off. Stop her. As soon as the words were spoken, several people blocked Yi Lingling's path. As the son of an earl, there were no shortage of noble disciples in the academy eager to curry favor with Sabu Chu. Haha, Lingling, I just wanted to invite you to a hotel for dinner, and maybe we could talk about our life ideals. Give me some face, please. Sabu Chu's pale face revealed a sickly smile. Get out of the way. Frowning, Yi Lingling watched Sabu Chu approach, her voice no longer calm slap. She slapped away his outstretched hand. Yi Lingling coldly shouted, Sabu Chu. Aren't you afraid Yanzi will cause you trouble? Haha, of course I'm afraid, but once we've consummated our relationship, do you think she'll lay a hand on your man? Yi Lingling cried out in surprise. With that, Sabu Chu seemed to transform into a hungry wolf, pouncing on Yi Lingling. Whoosh, in the blink of an eye. A blue figure blocked the two. Like cold jade, the black jade hand. Without warning, Sabu Chu let out a scream, flying backward and crashing heavily to the cold ground. Yi Chu finally squeezed through the crowd and punched him in the stinking face. Boss, his underlings swarmed over, helping him up, some even healing him. Sabu Chu covered his face, gasping for breath. Looking at the few teeth stained with blood in his hand, he was furious. Who is it? What kind of bastard are you? Beating up an old chicken, his words were slurred. Can't be. Long time no see. Yi Chu smiled at him, his left hand gripping his right wrist, flexing his joints. Your skin is really thick. You've made my hand numb. Chapter 80 Role Reversal. Staring intently at Yichu, Sabuchu's eyes widened. It's you, clearly, he recognized Yichu. You wretched commoner. You deserve to die. Ignoring his barking, Yichu turned to Yi Lingling. Miss Lingling, are you alright? Yi Lingling shook her head, remaining silent. She naturally remembered Yichu, her eyes filled with curiosity, wondering why he was here. The surrounding students, who had been gathering to watch the spectacle, finally came to their senses and recognized the newcomer. Who is this guy? Never seen him before, haha. Can't be? He really dares to say that. When did such a handsome man appear in the academy? HMPH. What's the use of being good looking? Offending Sabuchu is like offending Prince Zubang. Hearing the surrounding discussions, Yi Lingling's brows furrowed slightly. Let's leave first. Leave? No way. Surround that kid. Ouch! Covering his mouth where it had been pulled, Sabuchu's eyes were dark and filled with murderous intent. Yichu didn't move, standing quietly in place, watching them surround him. Kid, you were lucky last time. I don't know how you managed to escape, but this time, you're going to die. How? The people you sent last time are all dead, Yichu sneered, looking at him mockingly. If I remember correctly, the leader seemed to have a knife. As he spoke, Yichu began to walk towards him step by step, his Sharingan already activated. You killed Modeo? Sabuchu's eyes were a little panicked. He had always thought they had gone to feed the soul beasts. Of course, as Yichu spoke, 2 yellow soul rings disguised by the blue-silver domain rose up from beneath his feet. PFFT, ha 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 ha, Sabuchu, who had been a little panicked, suddenly burst into laughter. He looked at Yichu as if he were an idiot, pointing at his 2 soul rings. Kill Modeo? With just 2 spirit rings, is that not enough? Yichu still smiled. It's best not to stand out when activating your spirit in public. Ha ha ha, I almost fell for your trick. Sabuchu laughed wildly, pointing contemptuously at Yichu. Do you know Modeo's cultivation level? He's a 4-ring spirit master. You think you can kill him with just a useless great spirit master like yourself? Can't 2 spirit rings defeat someone with 4? Yichu looked at him strangely. Ha ha ha, hearing Yichu's ignorant words, not only Sabuchu laughed, but the surrounding students also burst into laughter. The sounds of mockery rose and fell. Where did this idiot come from? What can a great soul master do against a soul master? His head, he looks decent enough, but his brain isn't up to par. He's going to blow his act out of proportion to save a damsel in distress. Yi Lingling also looked at him strangely, frowning, feeling he was being overly arrogant and attention-seeking. They couldn't help but believe it. After all, in the soul master world, there was a saying, more rings, more bones, 1 wave of power, fewer rings, fewer bones, run away, 2 rings against 4 rings, basically no chance of survival. Hey! You should leave first. Yi Lingling tugged at Yichu's sleeve, urging him to leave. Miss Lingling, my name is Yichu. She turned back and glanced at him, giving him a reassuring look. I'm telling the truth, really. Yi Lingling felt he was truly a fearless newborn calf. Don't be stubborn. There are even 3-ring soul masters among them. You'd better leave quickly. Sabuchu wouldn't dare to do anything to me. I'm not being stubborn. I'm just a mere 3-ring. Yichu's voice was calm, without a trace of panic. Mere. Yi Lingling almost laughed in anger. Miss Lingling is also a 3-ring, right? You're not necessarily going to be able to beat me. Yichu smiled slightly, his face full of confidence. You? Yi Lingling's face rarely showed anger. This bastard, how can he be so stubborn? Doesn't he know what a support soul master is? She gave him a cold look and didn't say anything more. You can't reason with a damn devil. She just hoped he wouldn't be beaten to death later, otherwise even her 9-hearted begonia wouldn't be able to save him. Boy, you really deserve to die. Sabuchu looked at the 2 of them being affectionate, and Yi Lingling's expressions were more varied than he had seen in the past few years. He felt a surge of anger in his heart. All of you, get him. Break his legs first. Sabuchu had lost his patience. Boss. Let me handle this. A burly man with a crew cut slowly walked out from behind Sabuchu. Alright. Han man, go and break his arms and legs now, understood? 2 yellow and 1 purple spirit rings slowly rose from beneath his feet, and behind him was the phantom of an earth bear. Kid? I really don't understand. Why are you so confident when you're so ordinary? As he spoke, his spirit had already possessed him. His loose academy uniform was stretched taut by his bulging muscles, and his 1.8-meter height increased to 2 meters. He looked down at Yichu with a fierce expression. It's actually Han Man, that violent guy. This kid is in trouble now. Although Han Man is a bit old, he's already level 35, Yichu seemed oblivious to the skepticism around him. At this point, only he knew whether he could do it or not. He glanced at him contemptuously, stretched out his right hand, and beckoned to Han Man. Try it yourself and you'll see why I'm so confident, kid. You've got guts. Second soul skill, Kun Fist, bang. Han Man's eyes flashed with brutality and excitement as he charged towards Yichu with incredible speed. His fist was clenched at his chest, and as his second soul ring lit up, a straight punch, brimming with killing intent, slammed into Yichu's head. Die, realizing that his opponent was going for the kill, a strange red light flashed in Yichu's crimson eyes, filled with a hint of ferocity. He stood there, waiting for Han Man's arrival. Hey! Is that guy scared out of his wits? Why isn't he moving? This kid's finished, haha. Good. Han Man, kill him. Sabuchu's face was also filled with excitement. Yichu? Yi Lingling's heart softened, and she couldn't help but remind him, her 9-heart begonia martial soul already poised to unleash its power. But what happened before her eyes made her soul power stop operating? Her eyes suddenly turned strange as she looked at Han Man with surprise, a strange light appearing in them. How could this be? His strange behavior was noticed by everyone. What's going on? Why isn't Han Man hiding him? Is he playing psychological warfare? Trying to scare that guy into wetting himself? No. Han Man's behavior is a bit off, damn it. Han Man, what are you doing? Sabuchu was furious at Han Man's actions. On the field, Yichu stood with his arms crossed, and Han Man's fists kept swinging in front of him, but not a single punch hit him. Every punch was perfectly dodged, only bringing a slight breeze to his ears. While swinging his fists, he laughed loudly, as if he could already see Yichu's miserable state. Ha ha ha, I'll beat you to death. I'll beat you to death, can't be. Hurry up and call them all to come at him, don't let him hold it in. Yichu looked at him mockingly. You trashy commoner. All of you, go at him and tear his mouth apart. At his command, his underlings dared not disobey. 7 or 8 underlings activated their martial souls at the same time, and it has to be said that the scene was indeed quite spectacular. Second soul skill, Sword 2, second soul skill, Lightning Whip, first soul skill, Kun Transformation Hand, second soul skill, Greatsword, dot. Soul rings flew everywhere, various soul skills shimmering and dazzling, a spectacle to behold. Unfortunately, in Han Man's eyes, they were now enemies. Yichu had become Sabuchu, and Sabuchu had become Yichu. Their roles had reversed. Han Man vowed to defend his leader to the death. Chapter 81 Opening Eyes. You bastard. Don't even think about hurting the boss. Third soul skill, Savage Bear Golden Bell Shield, thump. A sound like a booming bell rang out continuously. Most of the soul skills were blocked by his third soul skill, and he would take the initiative to act as a meat shield in front of Yichu for those he couldn't block. Second soul skill, Kun Fist. As soon as he blocked the attack, he fearlessly attacked the people coming from all directions. Yichu also kindly lent a hand, confusing some of the less powerful little Karami. He tried to keep them evenly matched and prevent Han Man from being ganged up on. Han Man. Are you crazy? Sabuchu's voice became somewhat shrill. What exactly is going on? Is that Yichu's soul skill? Yi Lingling looked at the dramatic scene in front of her in surprise, but she didn't realize when Yichu had activated the soul skill. He's gone mad. Has Han Man gone mad? Why is he helping that pretty boy? It must be that guy's soul skill. Look! Someone else has gone mad. It's unbelievable. There's something wrong with him, a huge problem. The surrounding students were also somewhat stunned. It was clearly Sabuchu and his group who were ganging up on Yichu, but now it had turned into them fighting each other. Yichu had become a spectator. Miss Lingling, you should stand here properly and not get hurt, Yichu said to her, and then slowly walked towards Sabuchu, who was trying to escape in the chaos. Oh. Isn't this the young master of Count Sadio's family who can be? Are you in such a hurry to leave? Yichu blocked Sabuchu's way. Boy, since you know I'm the young master of the Count's family, you'd better get out of my way. If you dare to touch me, I won't let you off. Sabuchu was all bark and no bite, and his eyes were starting to panic. Don't talk nonsense. I didn't touch you. I just wanted you to wait for your underlings to settle the score. First soul skill, bear's press, Han Man roared, making Yichu take notice. This soul skill was truly strange. Second soul skill, straight to the yellow dragon. Han Man's last opponent was also knocked unconscious by his buttocks. Sabuchu's underlings lay scattered on the ground, each one covered in wounds, constantly groaning. Especially those who had been dealt with by Han Man, some had broken arms or legs. If there weren't any powerful healing soul masters, they probably wouldn't be able to take care of themselves for the next month. This scene made the onlookers shudder. Boss. It's over. Amidst Sabuchu's terrified gaze and the shocked gazes of the crowd, Han Man strode forward, stumbling to his side beside Yichu, his tiger eyes glaring at Sabuchu. He wasn't in good condition either, with multiple fractures in his body, and even his buttocks had been torn open by the straight to the yellow dragon move. His mental strength was far inferior to Yichu's, even the pain of opening his eyes couldn't break him out of the illusion. Han Man. Are you crazy? I'm your boss. Sabuchu's eyes widened as he shouted. Hurry up and kill him. Slap. Unfortunately, he was met only with a slap from Han Man, as large as a fan. The blow made his head buzz, and he collapsed to the ground. You bastard. How dare you insult my boss? Han Man's still bleeding face was contorted with rage as he glared fiercely at Sabuchu. In Yichu's illusion, every word and action of Sabuchu was a provocation. What did your boss say before? Yichu turned to look at Han Man. Break his hands and feet. Han Man stared at Sabuchu, his voice resounding. How? Let's begin. Yichu smiled coldly at Sabuchu. He wouldn't show mercy to scum like Xiao, who still had childish ideas. Boy. You dare touch me. Sabuchu retreated continuously, but remained arrogant. Yichu. I'm fine, let's just let it go. Yi Lingling also wanted Yichu to stop in time. There was no need to fend an earl for her sake. Yichu ignored her, still standing there, his expression cold. Things were different now. An earl? He must have quite a few sons, right? Zhu King should be happy to do him a favor, right? You've got it wrong. It wasn't me who wanted to touch you, your subordinates were just following your orders. Yichu waved his finger at Sabuchu, shaking his head in a somewhat comical manner, but no one dared to laugh. Han Man was already slowly approaching him. Sabuchu, a mere one-ring soul master, and having spent most of his cultivation on the woman's belly, had no power to resist and scrambled backward. No. Don't. Han Man, stop. Ow. My hand, no. Ugh. Crack. Amidst the screams, a few clear, melodious sounds rang out. Sabuchu's eyes streamed down his face, his mouth agape like a dead dog, drool pouring out. Han Man, true to his violent nature, had forcefully broken Sabuchu's thigh bone. Boss. It's done. Ignoring his own injuries, Han Man respectfully approached Yichu. Gulp. The sounds of swallowing filled the air. This was too ruthless. Such a bizarre scene sent chills down their spines. Who is he? Such a terrifying soul skill, we'd better stay away from him in the future. Will he use this soul skill to trick someone into bed? Big sister, you're vomiting. HMPH. This soul skill is really something. Looking at the mess on the ground, Yichu nodded, somewhat satisfied with the outcome. Han Man. Throw him at the entrance of Earl Sadio's mansion. Pointing to the unconscious Sabuchu on the ground, Yichu ordered him. Got it, boss. Carrying what he considered Yichu on his shoulder, Han Man left, heading towards the academy's exit. He wondered what would become of him, but it probably wouldn't be good. Yichu had no reason to show mercy to someone who wanted to kill him. He looked around. How, a three-ring soul master isn't really that big of a deal. Yichu shrugged, muttering to himself. Does that include me? Yi Lingling's voice rang out beside him. Of course. Cough cough. Yichu turned around. His red lips and white teeth almost offended someone, so he quickly coughed a few times. Yi Lingling, who had just walked behind him, looked at Yichu as he turned around. For some reason, her heart suddenly raced, and she felt an urge to pounce on him. She stood there stunned for a few seconds, her perpetually beautiful face beneath the black veil showing signs of thawing. Yichu noticed her odd behavior and immediately deactivated his Sharingan. It took her a while to come to her senses. Thank you. She didn't dare look at Yichu again, her face blushing beneath the black veil, her eyes lowered, her voice softer. It's nothing. Yichu shook his head. He wasn't simply helping her, he also wanted to vent his anger. Besides, he was going to charge her later. Let's leave here first. Yichu glanced at the students still gathered around, feeling a little uncomfortable. Okay, Yi Lingling also didn't like being in crowded places. The two walked away from the crowd, and no one dared to stop them. Watching Yichu leave, the students immediately started making a fuss. I never expected a Grand Soul Master to be this powerful, yet we didn't even see how he attacked, and everyone was already down. It's his eyes. His martial soul is eyes, so he must have used the mental attack we couldn't detect. Maybe he really did kill a 4-ring Soul Master. I wonder how he compares to the newcomer, Yu Xianhen. It's a pity Yichu had already gone far away, otherwise he would have discovered that there were indeed intelligent people in the crowd. Mental attacks are rare, but they do exist. Following Yi Lingling's footsteps, they passed through rows of teaching buildings and arrived at a small grove. Seeing that she remained silent, Yichu couldn't help but ask, "Where are we going?" Yi Lingling suddenly turned around, stopped, and let out a muffled groan, her face under the black veil instantly turning red. Yichu was observing his surroundings and didn't notice her stop. After bumping into her, he was bounced back, feeling a tightness in his chest. It was truly terrifying. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Strange Things. I'm sorry. She scratched her head, giving an awkward, forced laugh that quickly stiffened. At 15 or 16, she was already fully developed. It was unexpected that such a fiery side was hidden beneath her loose black dress. It's nothing. Yi Lingling's voice turned cold, a chill running down her spine. She didn't really want to be near men. The main reason she helped Yichu last time was simply because that girl was very likable. As for the secondary reason, that's unimportant. I'll take you to the cafeteria now. With that, Yi Lingling moved again, appropriately increasing the distance between herself and Yichu. The cafeteria. Yichu looked up at the sky. The sun was high in the sky, and he hadn't realized it was already noon. He snapped out of his daze and followed her. How did you get into the Heavenly Douluo Royal Academy? Yi Lingling glanced at the badge on Yichu's chest, somewhat curious. He should be a commoner. I'm looking for someone. Upon hearing this, Yi Lingling suddenly sped up and walked forward, then turned back to look at Yichu. Looking for whom? Yichu stared blankly at her actions. I really didn't mean to. However, she ignored him. None of that mattered. She looked away from Yichu. Who are you looking for? Maybe I can help. Yichu opened his mouth, wanting to explain something. Noticing her reddened ears, he didn't say anything more to avoid further embarrassment. You can definitely help. How can you be so sure? Yi Lingling's eyebrows twitched slightly, feeling as if she could guess what he meant. She looked at him strangely. So you're here for Yanzi too? That's right. Yichu nodded, then exclaimed in surprise, what do you mean too? Are there other people here looking for her? Upon receiving his answer, Yi Lingling's eyes turned somewhat disdainful, as if to say, sure enough, all men are the same. Shifting her gaze, Yi Lingling continued leading the way, her cold and lonely voice ringing out. Many people came before you, but you should be prepared. Quite a few have been poisoned by Yanzi and left half paralyzed. The last half of her sentence unusually showed some emotional fluctuation, tinged with a hint of schadenfreude. This was enough to prove that her relationship with Douluo was still quite good. I think you've misunderstood. I'm not here to pursue her. Yichu followed her, clarifying his purpose. Telling me won't help. There are quite a few people who approach Yanzi under various pretexts. Do you think Yanzi's suitors will believe you? If they don't believe me, what can I do? Yichu shrugged. He was determined to see her anyway. It's good that you're confident, but that guy who came last month was quite domineering. Who? Yu Xianhen. He transferred schools specifically for Yanzi. Yi Lingling seemed somewhat dissatisfied with him when she mentioned him. Yichu was a little surprised. One of the 3 upper sects, the future young master of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. If you can drive him away, I might even thank you. Yi Lingling's words were intriguing. She always felt that Yu Xianheng's purpose in coming here to pursue Douluo was not pure. We'll see if he causes me any trouble. Yichu remembered that Yu Xianheng was only level 39 when he appeared in Soto City, and there was still more than a year left until then. It seemed that his current cultivation level was even less impressive. He was only at the Soul Sect level, so the advantage was in his hands. He had better not provoke him, otherwise, he might have to spend some time teaching him a lesson. So, can you actually help me? We're here. Let's eat and talk. Before they knew it, the two had passed through the grove of trees. A luxurious building appeared before them, cylindrical in shape, with opaque glass inlaid on the exterior walls, and wisps of smoke rising from the roof. The aroma of food wafted from a distance. Let's go. Yichu followed her up a few flights of stairs and soon arrived at a private room. Truly worthy of being a noble academy, sitting opposite Zhilingling, Yichu exclaimed. There wasn't even a main dining area, it was all private rooms. The opaque glass on the exterior walls was one-sided, you couldn't see inside from the outside, but from inside, you could overlook the scenery of the forest and lake below. The higher the seat, the better the view. The environment is secondary, the key is the food here. It's all made from hundreds, thousands, and sometimes even tens of thousands of years old soul beast meat. Once the food was served, Zhilingling removed her veil and picked up her chopsticks. A perfectly proportioned oval face, silver white hair, willow leaf eyebrows, and beautiful light blue eyes. Her eyes were calm and still, as if loneliness and aloofness were her eternal themes. Is she pretty? Noticing the undisguised prying look beside her, Zhilingling raised an eyebrow, her gaze cold and indifferent. Not bad, not bad, Yichu chuckled awkwardly, trying to hide his embarrassment. He was just curious. Zhilingling frowned, unsure whether she was annoyed by Yichu's intrusion or by the word not bad. I can't help you with that right now. Why? Yichu also picked up his chopsticks, looking at her with suspicion. Yanzi seems to have some health problems these past few days. She's left the academy and won't be back until tomorrow. Yichu fell silent, expressionless, a strange feeling creeping into his heart as he pondered. Du Yan's health is having problems? How could this be? Could it be that her poison has taken effect prematurely? So come find me again tomorrow, and I'll take you to her. Ignoring his distraction, Zhilingling ate her food in small bites and continued speaking. Thank you very much, Miss Lingling. Coming back to his senses, he didn't ask any more questions, and the two quietly ate the food on the table. They were silent, yet didn't feel uncomfortable. A short while later, after finishing their meal, Yichu followed behind her, preparing to leave. As soon as they exited the cafeteria, she took quick, light steps to create distance, stopped, and turned around in one fluid motion. Wait for me here tomorrow morning. Looking at her in the distance, Yichu felt a little helpless. Did she have to be so wary of him? Thank you very much. Okay, he nodded lightly and walked away quietly. Letting out a long breath, Yichu suppressed his slight dissatisfaction and walked out of the academy, taking the opportunity to enjoy the scenery. Along the way, Yichu saw several simulated training grounds, once again experiencing what it meant to be incredibly wealthy. Just as he was about to leave, a commotion arose behind him. Surround him for this prince, a domineering shout rang out. Dozens of students in academy uniforms surrounded Yichu. Thump. Han Man, whose arms and legs had been broken, landed in front of Yichu. Prince? Is this Zhu Bang? Yichu raised an eyebrow, looking at the newcomer. Zhu Bang was surrounded by the crowd, sporting dazzling reddish-brown hair, a gloomy gaze, and a somewhat pale complexion. He walked with his nostrils pointing to the sky, yet his back was slightly hunched. He practically had "I'm a spoiled brat" plastered on his forehead. Behind him, two people carried a stretcher, on which lay that brat, Sabu Chu. The students surrounding Yichu made way, and Zhu Bang walked up to him, somewhat arrogant, but a glint of cunning flashed deep in his eyes. Kid? You're Yichu, 831,821,005. A QQ group has been created at the request of readers. Interested readers are welcome to join. Also, please vote with your recommendation tickets and monthly tickets. Thank you all for your support. Chapter 83 The Fake Playboy. Yichu looked directly at the seemingly stoic fourth prince of Yondao and calmly nodded. That's right. I am good. Good, in this Yondao Academy, someone actually dares to hit one of my men. Clap clap. Zhu Bang clapped his hands, seemingly applauding Yichu's actions, but his eyes grew increasingly cold. Prince Zhu Bang, what are you saying? When did I hide him? Yichu shrugged, feigning innocence, his mind calm. I didn't even touch him. How can you slander someone out of thin air? How? Since you know me, you should know. I said you hit him. You hide him? Zhu Bang's face was mocking, completely unwilling to engage in such convoluted arguments with Yichu. His strategy was to carry out his arrogance to the end. Looking into his eyes, Yichu felt that Zubang was constantly scrutinizing him as he spoke. So what do you want? Before Zubang could speak, Sabuchu, lying on the stretcher, was already impatient. Brother Zubang, break his limbs. Break all 5 limbs, did you hear that? My brother said he'd break all 5 of your limbs. His eyes, slightly unfocused from indulgence, held a smug glint, as if he already had Yichu under his thumb. Hell, you can try. Yichu finally understood, the other party was just looking for trouble. Alright. Then break his limbs. Attack. As he gave the order, Zubang didn't forget to retreat, keeping his distance from Yichu. Brothers. Activate your martial souls. Whoosh. A dazzling array of martial souls flashed, making one's eyes spin. I wonder if Prince Zubang can bear the consequences if these people are missing limbs. Yichu's voice was cold, his eyes flashing with 6 pointed stars. Faced with this situation, Susanoo seemed to be the best solution. If they really fought, many of these people would likely die. However, he chose not to intervene. Because the Sharingan had already sensed it. Looking at the Heaven Dao Academy, this prince is the heaven. There's nothing I can't handle, is that so? It seems my good little brother has really made something of himself. Zubang had just finished his boastful words when a voice, both authoritative and mocking, rang in his ears. Instantly, cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The others also stopped what they were doing and looked in the direction from which the voice came. Zuking, dressed in golden robes, slowly walked over. Big brother, like a mouse begging a cat, Zubang trembled all over in fear, his original arrogance turning into meekness. Tell them to stop. You've injured my distinguished guest, can you take responsibility for that? Zuking shouted coldly, his calm face revealing anger. Yes, yes. Big brother, I'll make them stop right now. Zubang's head bobbed like a rattled drum, nodding repeatedly. You bastards. What are you doing still activating your martial souls? What about scaring my big brother's distinguished guest? Believe me or not, I'll kill you all. Huh? He switched between humble and arrogant manners with ease. Yichu had to admire his acting skills, no wonder he could survive until the end and become the puppet emperor of a nobody. Everyone retracted their martial spirits as instructed, and Yichu approached Zuking. Thank you, Your Highness, Brother Yichu, there's no need for that. I already know the whole story, it was my foolishness that caused this. Facing Yichu, Zuking had abandoned his imposing manner, displaying only friendliness. Zubang. Come here quickly and apologize to Brother Yichu. Okay, okay. I'm coming. Zubang's expression was somewhat forced. Clearly, he couldn't bear to lose face in front of everyone. Brother Yichu, I'm truly sorry. His head was lowered, his expression slightly distorted, filled with resentment and malice. When he raised his head again, his face was full of ingratiating smiles. Well, Brother Yichu, are you satisfied? If not, I'll punish them myself. No need. Yichu reached out to stop Zuking, staring strangely at Zubang, a flash of red light in his eyes. I want to do it myself, brother. That's absolutely impossible. Zubang's expression changed. Do it yourself. Zuking frowned, somewhat troubled. Brother Yichu, I am, after all, a member of the royal family. This is against the rules. Yes. This is against the rules. How could Zubang, a prince, allow himself to be dealt with by a lowly commoner? Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I just want to punish him a little. Yichu pointed a finger at Sabuchu, who was lying on the stretcher. Of course, Yichu wouldn't be foolish enough to cause trouble for a prince in public. The Tiandao royal family also had its pride. Zuking also looked at the stretcher, then nodded in agreement. No, no. Your Highness, I was wrong. Sabuchu's wails and pleas for mercy were to no avail. Yichu didn't do it himself. A look of surprise flashed in Zuking's eyes. Under everyone's noses, Zubang's eyes became dazed. He slowly walked to the stretcher like a walking corpse and grabbed Sabuchu by the hand. His wails grew louder and louder. Ah, Brother Zubang. No. Ah, his screams were shrill and heart-wrenching. The damage was immense, leaving only lingering traces, a complete mess. Since he wanted to break his own limbs, Yichu wouldn't be polite and confiscated his tools. If he didn't receive timely treatment, and the wounds scabbed over and healed on their own, then he would truly live up to his name. Zuking's expression was somewhat unnatural, and he cursed inwardly. He gave Yichu a subtle, almost imperceptible, glare, his tone carrying a hint of reproach. How is it? Are you satisfied? So, Yichu nodded. I suppose you've already eaten, so I'll see you off and we can chat? How about it? How could I refuse a prince's offer to see me off? After a few polite words, the two left. Once they were far away, Zhu Beng, regaining his senses, let out a few strange laughs, somewhat contemptuous and chilling. I thought my good brother had met some peerless genius. Turns out his soul skill is just illusion. He licked the blood off his hands, a sickly look of enjoyment on his face, a crimson mist flashing in his eyes, radiating an evil aura. With a blink of an eye, he returned to normal, once again becoming an ordinary playboy. Lying on the stretcher, Sabuchu's face and lips were pale, his teeth still trembling. Brother Zhu Beng, shut up. If it weren't for the pair of catgirls your father gave me last time, I would kill you right now, Zhu Beng shouted fiercely. If he hadn't been boasted about how powerful Yichu was, why would he have bothered to come here to test him and suffer this humiliation for nothing? He exerted force again, causing a second blow. Sabuchu let out another scream and fainted. Someone, throw him back, Zhu Beng waved his hand dismissively. A piece of trash who had lost his basic abilities and couldn't inherit the family business was no longer of any value to him. HMPH, he flicked his sleeve and left. Today's humiliation will be avenged tomorrow, 831,821,005. At the request of readers, a QQ group has been created. Interested readers are welcome to join. Also, please vote with your recommendations and monthly tickets. Thank you all for your support. Chapter 84 Grilled Sausage? After the two left, Yichu remained completely unaware of what had transpired there. At this moment, he and Zhu King were walking down the mountain. A gentle breeze blew across the mountainside, ruffling Yichu's long, blue hair. I'm truly sorry, I should have personally shown you around, but I was too busy with state affairs. It's alright. As the crown prince, you should naturally prioritize national affairs. Don't worry about what happened today, I'll handle it. Then I thank your highness in advance. Yichu naturally knew that someone had probably already reported everything that had happened in the academy to him. Perhaps even Ning Fengzi had a copy. Walking side by side on the steps, Zhu King looked at Yichu's profile, her eyes filled with hesitation, complexity, and, more than anything, scrutiny. He had already received the reply from the Hall of Offerings. By the way, does your martial soul have a name? Yes. Sharingan, that's its name, Sharingan? The effect is quite peculiar. Was that your soul skill just now? Soul skill? I wouldn't call it that. Yichu didn't explain much. He had always kept his soul skill a secret. The two chatted casually, mostly him asking questions and Yichu answering. At the foot of the mountain, Zhu King stood on the steps carved from white marble. Brother Yichu, take care. If anything unpleasant happens here, feel free to come find me. Also, please give my regards to our teacher, okay? Then I'll trouble you to take care of me from now on, Brother Zhu. Goodbye. Yichu waved to Zhu King behind him as a farewell. At Zhu King's suggestion, their way of addressing each other changed slightly. Once they were down a distance away, out of Zhu King's sight, Yichu used his divine power to return to the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Zhu King also went to a secluded spot, hands behind his back, waiting quietly. Young master, a figure appeared hidden in the void. Poor Cupinafish. Did you see it clearly? Zhu King's face lost its gentleness, replaced by sternness. I saw it clearly. His martial soul is his eyes. It has mental attacks and special attributes. Just now, he seemed to have used some special soul skill to leave an eye martial soul? And it has special attributes. It seems its quality is indeed not low. Zhu King pondered for a moment, sighed, and pinched his brow. I need to consider Grandpa's suggestion for a while. He suddenly remembered Yichu's conversation about Avalanche. Now, recalling some of his actions, they were indeed a bit too deliberate and flamboyant. Right. Go investigate Avalanche. See what he's been doing lately. Yes. Using divine power, it didn't take long. Yichu returned to the 7 treasure glazed tile school's courtyard. Cough cough cough. As soon as he appeared, Yichu was choked by a thick smoke. The once fresh and clean courtyard was now filled with smoke, tinged with black mist. He appeared, and Xiaolan sensed him. Ah. Brother, you're finally back. Quick, save Xiaolan. What is that? Before he could see clearly, a little kitten with a blackened face and charcoal bits around its mouth pounced into his arms. Its blackened face bumped against his chest, leaving a blackened human face mark on his clothes. Xiaolan? What happened to you? Why is your voice so hoarse? After looking her over for a while, Yichu finally recognized that the person in his arms was Xiaolan. Her face was covered in black soot. Her hair was messy and curly, and even her newly bought blue dress had several burn marks. Brother. Rongrong is spoiling Xiaolan's mouth. She's bullying Xiaolan? A chubby little black face, crying, made Yichu want to laugh. He knelt down to wipe away her tears, but only made her face even more smeared. Tell me how she bullied me. Sister Rongrong said she was bored and said she'd make something delicious for Xiaolan, but Xiaolan wouldn't eat it, and she forced it on her. Why? She even started to sob, making Yichu feel a pang of heartache. He wondered just how bad Ning Rongrong's cooking was. Before he could comfort Xiaolan, another female voice rang out. Hey, Yichu, you're back? Cough cough. In the corner of the courtyard, from the kitchen where wisps of smoke rose, a slender figure appeared and disappeared, like a fairy carrying a basket in the peach blossom paradise. Upon seeing her face clearly, Yichu burst out laughing. Haha, Miss Rongrong, what happened to you? Her appearance was even worse than Xiaolan's. Her hair was curly and frizzy, and the area around her mouth looked like a black mustache. HMPH. What are you laughing at? Ning Rongrong walked up to Yichu, her dark face expressionless, holding a plate in her hand. Would you like to try my new dish? Her eyes shone with anticipation, the light in them particularly striking against her dark face. Looking at the plate she handed over, several dark reddish-brown sausages lay on it, glistening somewhat. They seemed quite appealing. She glanced at Xiaolan strangely. They didn't look too bad. Hey? Xiaolan, want one? Ning Rongrong held up a sausage, squatted down, waved it in front of her, and was about to put it in her mouth. Brother Xiaolan doesn't want to. Tears welled in her eyes, and she hurriedly hid behind Yichu, too afraid to peek out. HMPH. She was perfectly fine before. Well, since she won't eat, you can have it. Ning Rongrong directly shoved a sausage into Yichu's hand. Seeing Xiaolan's reaction, Yichu's heart pounded, and he pursed his lips. You're a grown man. Why are you hesitating so much when you're eating? As the first person to taste something I personally cooked, you should feel honored. Xiaolan has already eaten quite a bit. Hearing her voice, Yichu clearly felt Xiaolan behind him tremble with fear. Eat up. Ning Rongrong's eyebrows shot up, as if she wouldn't stop until he finished. Yichu sighed, sniffed it, and found no strange smell. He steeled himself and took a small bite. Crunch! A crisp sound, and the outside was actually coated with a layer of sugar? Was this a new way of making sausages? The slight sweetness entered his mouth, and Yichu was somewhat expectant. After chewing a couple of times, he froze on the spot. How is it? Ning Rongrong's eyebrows relaxed, looking at him with interest. Yichu's face turned extremely ugly, slowly turning green. The first taste was slightly sweet, followed by an extreme bitterness, and then a strong sour taste. It caused great damage to Yichu's taste buds. I'll take a day off tomorrow and make up for it later. Chapter 85 Night Chat? Yichu's eyes were a little red, and he tried his best not to lose control of his expression. He tried to make his smile look natural. What he said was a little against his conscience. This candied hawthorn is so delicious, really. You could tell. Ning Rongrong's eyes crinkled. Xiaolan, behind Yichu, looked at him with a look of horror. Why don't you try it yourself? Great. I'll take it over right now for my dad and the others to try. Hey. Let me finish. Yichu's shuts were to no avail. Ning Rongrong had already run out. Watching her light and cheerful figure, he could tell that she was indeed very happy. But Yichu felt a little uneasy. He could only hope that she wouldn't cause him any trouble when she came back. Then he stopped, and the tears he had been holding back squeezed out from the corners of his eyes. He quickly spat out the remaining hawthorn in his mouth. He squatted down, pressed Xiaolan's shoulder, and asked a question he most wanted to know. How on earth can you eat that? Rongrong, Sister Rongrong said she'd treat me to a top-notch feast if I ate just one. But, Xiaolan really can't take it anymore. She covered her mouth, even wanting to pull her tongue out to wash it. Xiaolan's mouth tastes so bitter. Is it rotten? While looking at the crying Xiaolan, Yichu was speechless once again. He could only gently pat her back to comfort her. He didn't know if Ningfengzi and the others could handle it, but he certainly couldn't. Night fell, and the bright moon hung in the sky. Yichu went alone to the pavilion in the courtyard, resting his chin on his hand, deep in thought. When he was surrounded by Zubang and the others today, he discovered his current weakness. It seemed that his soul skills always resulted in death or serious injury. Currently, his divine might attacks either twisted the head or the waist, and if they hit, it would at least cripple the target. Amaterasu was still uncontrollable, burning and cutting wherever it landed, and it was extremely vicious. Even the most reliable Tsukuyomi can easily turn someone into a fool. These soul skills are only suitable for life or death situations. As for the Blue-Silver Emperor Martial Soul, it currently only has 2 auxiliary soul skills, which are dispensable in battle. I wonder if I could develop a self-created soul skill to use. Just as he was about to look up at the bright moon in the sky, a pair of jade-like feet dangled from the eaves of the pavilion, gently swaying. The toes were slender, the legs were long and shapely, and the skin was smooth, even shimmering with a faint halo under the moonlight, somewhat dazzling. It was Ningrongrong. When she returned in the afternoon, although the plate in her hand was empty, her expression was somewhat lost and dejected. Seeing her like that, Yichu didn't dare to go up and provoke her. To Yichu's surprise, she didn't make a fuss and hid in her room by herself. He didn't know when she had a room here. Yichu jumped onto the roof and looked at her back. At this moment, she was drinking alone, wearing a slip dress, her brown hair fluttering in the evening breeze. The once arrogant and domineering little devil had become more gentle and serene. "What are you thinking about?" Noticing the sound behind her, she turned to look at Yichu. "Why aren't you asleep yet?" Yichu sat down beside her uninvited. "I was just thinking about some things." "What's there to think about?" Ningrongrong took a sip of her drink, looking at Yichu curiously. "Of course I am. Thinking about the future, thinking about what I should do next, what I should do." "What? You, who are very likely to inherit the sect, have never thought about these things?" Yichu put his hands behind his head and lay down. Hearing his words, Ningrongrong was stunned for a moment and did not answer. The two of them fell silent, looking at the bright moon hanging high in the sky. Yichu's voice rang out again, asking Ningrongrong, "What were you thinking about just now?" "I was thinking about whether I have been too willful all this time." She looked down at her reflection in the wineglass, a hint of doubt in her eyes. Her thoughts drifted back to this afternoon. After she took out the candied hawthorns she had made, her father, Grandpa Jian, and Grandpa Gu, despite their grim expressions, all said they were delicious. The two grandfathers even compared them. At first, she didn't notice anything amiss, only feeling smug. Until later, when she gave some to her brothers and sisters-in-law. Except for Ningguan, who took a bite and, while crying, said they were good, the others were cold towards her. They thought she was playing some prank again, saying she was idle and only knew how to be unreasonable. She genuinely wanted to share with them. Thinking of this, her eyes reddened, she bit her lip, and her voice was low. "What you said just now has confirmed something for me." Yichu looked at her in surprise. Had this little devil finally come to her senses? With tearful eyes, she glanced at Yichu's surprised expression and snorted coldly. "HMPH. It seems you think so too." "Indeed, a little." Yichu touched his nose, speaking the truth. Ningrongrong took a sip of her drink and lay down, trying to stop the tears from falling. She had cried many times in front of Yichu during this time. Turning his head, Yichu saw the tears glistening in her eyes and felt a pang of guilt. The two remained silent for a long time. "Thank you, I'm sorry." Suddenly, two voices rang out simultaneously. Both turned to look at each other in surprise, their eyes meeting briefly before quickly looking away. "Why say thank you? Why say sorry?" They exchanged another glance. "You go first, X2." They spoke in unison. Ladies first, you go first." "Okay." Ningrongrong nodded slightly, her voice soft, without using those familiar terms. "Thank you for saving me. And thank you for praising my cooking." She paused slightly at the last part, looking at Yichu with a special light in her eyes. Aside from her father and his two siblings, Yichu was the first person to praise her candied hawthorns, a feeling that warmed her heart. "Oh, cough cough." After hearing her words and seeing her gaze, Yichu became somewhat reserved and dared not look at her. "What's wrong with you?" "I'm done talking, it's your turn." Ningrongrong frowned at him. She was perfectly fine just now. "Can I stop talking?" Yichu asked sullenly. "Of course not." Ningrongrong glared at him angrily. "Then let's make a deal. You're not allowed to hit me after I talk." "Why?" She looked at him strangely, stared for a few seconds, and then nodded. "And you can't scold me either." "Fine, fine. Are you ever going to stop?" "Humph." She glared at him irritably. Cough cough. I'm sorry. Actually, I praised you because I wanted to trick you into eating something too. Ouch. Yichu cried out in pain, hunching over and clutching his stomach. QQ Group. 831,821,005. Chapter 86 Blushing. You bastard. He had barely finished speaking when Ningrongrong immediately sat up and punched Yichu. She glared at him fiercely, thinking all those expressions she'd made were for nothing. She'd been so self-satisfied for so long. Just thinking about it made her grit her teeth in anger. You're really infuriating. Hey. You said you wouldn't hit me. Yichu also sat up, clutching his stomach and forcing a bitter smile. I'm being kind by not pushing you down. Her eyebrows shot up, as if she wanted to kill him with her eyes. I'll just try it for you again next time, Yichu muttered. Then, as if remembering the taste, his face changed, and he quickly added, of course, the premise is that it can't be too awful. HMPH. Is it that awful? Ningrongrong huffed unconvinced. Didn't you try it yourself? I didn't dare. She blushed and turned her head away. Yichu was speechless, then immediately frowned, rebuking her. Then why did you force Xiaolan to eat? You're talking nonsense. She clearly wanted to eat it herself, and she even took several tables of my top-class food. She accepted the payment but wouldn't eat it, so I forced it on her. Ningrongrong's face flushed red, and she clenched her fists fiercely. That glutton Xiaolan actually dared to make up stories about her. Yichu is stunned and speechless. Perhaps Xiaolan didn't expect it to be so bad at first. Besides, Yichu ate the modified version. He really didn't know how bad the original version Xiaolan ate was. Thinking of the charcoal bits on Xiaolan's lips, the taste must have been explosive. Yichu could only sigh softly. He felt sorry for her misfortune and angry at her lack of self-control. Thinking of the two titled Douluo seniors, Sword and Bone, who had snatched the food, Yichu could only sigh. They were all werewolves. Ningrongrong suddenly stood up. Her long hair and nightgown swayed in the wind, and a fragrant breeze wafted towards Yichu. HMPH. I'm not talking anymore. My beauty sleep time has been over for ages. Ningrongrong covered her flushed face, then opened her arms as if to embrace the bright moon in the sky, her eyes glancing at Yichu out of the corner of her eye. Yichu also stood up. Then I should go back too. I have to go to the Heavenly Royal Academy early tomorrow morning. Yichu, just as he was about to leave, Ningrongrong called out to him. Turning around, her delicate body pressed against him, and Yichu smelled a faint floral fragrance. He couldn't tell if it was the scent of wine or her body fragrance. The cool evening breeze dispelled the restlessness in his heart. Thank you for talking to me. She hugged Yichu's waist, rested her head on his left shoulder, and spoke in a gentle voice that soothed his heart. There's no need for that. Aren't you chatting with me too? Yichu didn't move, and was about to push her away when Ningrongrong looked up and stared at Yichu's face. Wait, why? Suddenly she frowned, muttering something was wrong for no reason. She hugged Yichu, leaning on his left shoulder, then his right, and then checking his expression. What's wrong? Yichu looked at her, puzzled. Her beautiful eyes glared at him. Why aren't you blushing, huh? Yichu looked at her in surprise. What was all this about? Xiaolan said that Zuqing always blushes when she hugs you. Why aren't you blushing now? Am I not good enough for her? Ningrongrong puffed out her chest, glaring at him angrily. After being contradicted a few times, Yichu's eyes involuntarily glanced down at her neck. Indescribable. You dirk. Noticing Yichu's seemingly dismissive expression, Ningrongrong's eyes turned dangerous. She pressed her face directly against Yichu's. Looking at the delicate face before him, her breath hot against his skin, the fragrance of flowers filling his nostrils, Yichu felt a wave of discomfort wash over him, and a trace of color returned to his face. Xiaolan. I swear, he opened his mouth to explain, but a force pushed him away, his foot slipped, and he couldn't help but curse. Ningrongrong's arrogant voice rang in his ears. Only this much redness. It's too late. Humph, thump, with a muffled sound, Yichu was lying on the flower bed below, grimacing. Ningrongrong looked down at Yichu, hands on her hips, her clothes fluttering, a smug smile on her face. Thank you for your words. This young lady has decided that from now on, I will be a proper young lady of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. With that, she snorted coldly and turned to leave. Yichu, however, was still staring blankly at the spot where she had just been, his nose burning. She didn't even know to wear longer pants, Yichu muttered, the thing he had just seen making him blush even more. Ah! Before he could finish speaking, Yichu screamed again. A wine glass flew over and hit him. You bastard, you scoundrel! Ningrongrong was already standing under the pavilion. Clearly, she had heard every word Yichu whispered. Now, she was gritting her teeth, her face flushed, glaring at him. She had originally intended to help him up, but now she was more than happy to kick him a couple of times. She tightened her nightgown and scurried back to her room. Yichu lay among the flowers, inhaling their fragrance, quietly gazing at the moon, a chill running through him. How? Xiaolan? Yichu gritted his teeth, not expecting Xiaolan's big mouth to be so talkative. Whoosh! Yichu's mind stirred, and the unending life force activated. Several strands of blue-silver grass wrapped around his body, emitting a soft green light. In no time, the scratches on his body healed instantly. He stood up, stretched, and grew angrier the more he thought about it. Then, Yichu slowly approached Xiaolan's room. He quietly opened the door. The cool moonlight cast Yichu's long shadow, covering Xiaolan and gradually engulfing her. Xiaolan was fast asleep on the bed, drool still escaping her lips, probably dreaming of something delicious. He reached out and gently pinched her soft face. Half asleep, Xiaolan winced in pain, her brows furrowing and her eyes welling with tears. Xiaolan wake up, hearing Yichu's call. She slowly opened her eyes and wiped away her tears. Brother, her watery eyes and round face were so deceptively charming. Yichu's heart softened instantly. Yawn brother, what's wrong? Xiaolan is so sleepy, her sleepy eyes, still blue from just waking, were shrouded in a shimmering light, making her look incredibly beautiful. Nothing. Just wanted you to get back to sleep. He flicked his outstretched two fingers back, patted her head, and then silently left the room. Xiaolan stared blankly as Yichu left, unable to process what had happened. It took her a while to react. Her face immediately fell, her eyes filled with extreme grievance, and tears welled up in her eyes. You stinky brother! You actually tricked Xiaolan. Dawn broke. Yichu was getting up early to cultivate his purple demon eye. As soon as he opened the door, he rubbed his eyes in disbelief. He wondered if he had gotten up too quickly. The door to the opposite room was wide open, and Ningrongrong was already up, wearing a nightgown and sitting in the pavilion. Miss Rongrong. Good morning, Yichu walked over. Good morning, Ningrongrong replied wearily. Why are you up so early today? Yichu was genuinely curious. HMPH. I said yesterday that I would be a proper young lady, she yawned, her voice listless. Yichu looked at her strangely. Actually, you're still young? You should mainly focus on cultivating. Oh? Is that so? Ningrongrong looked at him in surprise, then nodded seriously. Of course, Yichu raised an eyebrow. Why did he always feel that Ningrongrong was pretending to be surprised? PFFT haha. Am I that strange? She chuckled, stood up, and walked to Yichu's side. Chapter 87 Royal Fighting Team. A blush spread across her face as she leaned close to Yichu's ear, her warm breath dispelling the morning chill. Actually, I got up so early to wait for you. Waiting for me? Yichu asked, puzzled, about to turn around. Suddenly, a soft, moist touch came over his cheek. He paused, a flicker of desire crossing his face. Ouch! Before he could react, a sharp pain shot through him. Yichu immediately pushed her away, a row of teeth marks appearing on his flushed face. Ningrongrong. Why did you bite me? He. Looks like I'm not so bad after all. She didn't answer him, looking at Yichu with a satisfied smile on her rosy cheeks. Last night's performance had been rather disappointing, keeping her up all night. She knew her charm couldn't be that bad. This color looked perfect, and the young lady was very satisfied. Ignoring Yichu's gaze, she straightened her back, hands behind her back, and slowly walked back to her room. Go do your own thing, I'm going back to sleep. Humph, Yichu stood there dumbfounded. So why did she bite him? Snap, Ningrongrong quickly closed the door, leaned against it, cupped her flushed cheeks, and her heart pounded wildly. In the pavilion, Yichu silently sat down at the table, lost in thought. He wasn't truly a blockhead after all. Having learned from Zhu Huking's experience, he could still sense Ningrongrong's feelings. Frustrated, Yichu scratched his head, deciding to let things take their course. Little did he know that his current indecisiveness would make his future encounters with the girls, a chaotic and painful experience, even more unbearable. Never mind, I'll cultivate first. For him, What could relieve his worries? Only cultivation. Leaping onto the roof, Yichu focused his mind, purple energy swirling in his eyes. When the purple energy dissipated on the horizon, Yichu was no longer on the roof. Using divine power as a transit point, Yichu had arrived at the grove near the heavenly Douluo Royal Academy. He took out his badge, pinned it to his chest, entered the academy, and headed towards the agreed-upon meeting place. Yichu hadn't asked for the exact time, so he could only arrive early. After all, he was the one who had asked for help, and he couldn't keep them waiting. He saw almost no one on the road. It was indeed quite early, and most of the noble students were probably still in bed. As he approached the cylindrical cafeteria, Yichu saw a beautiful figure in the distance, long, silver-white hair, still dressed in black. The morning breeze gently lifted a corner of her black veil, revealing a glimpse of her beautiful face. Miss Lingling. Good morning. I didn't expect you to be here so early. Didn't keep you waiting long. Yichu jumped over, thinking he was early enough, but she was already here. Good morning. I just arrived too. Yi Lingling nodded as Yichu approached. Noticing the curiosity on his face, she explained, the team has training today, so I got up early. I see. Yichu understood. Let's go. I'll take you to see Yanzi right now. With that, Yi Lingling started walking. Yichu followed closely behind, remembering yesterday's awkwardness, and quickly stepped forward to stand shoulder to shoulder with her. Yi Lingling turned and glanced at him, her brows furrowing. You're going to see Yanzi like this? Now I'm starting to believe you're not here to pursue her, huh? Yichu looked at her, puzzled, not understanding what he had done wrong. You're quite the ladies' man. The teeth marks on your face are quite obvious. Yi Lingling's face turned cold, and she let out a cold laugh. This made her feel even less guilty about tricking Yichu later. Yichu's face flushed, and he cried out inwardly. Ningrong, that little devil, has ruined me. Here Yichu chuckled awkwardly, unsure how to explain, and could only force a smile. A faint green light emanated from his hand, covering his face, and the faint teeth marks slowly disappeared. Such rich life force? What kind of soul skill is this? Isn't his martial soul his eyes? Yi Lingling's eyes flashed with surprise, but she didn't ask. None of that mattered. The stronger he was, the more at ease she felt. After this incident, the two remained silent, continuing their journey in silence. The royal fighting team's training ground was located in a clearing in the middle of a dense forest. There were several restrooms around it. In the very center stood a square arena. Today was their sparring training session. At this moment, there were 3 figures on the arena. 2 of them seemed to be twins, a pair of burly men with straight noses and square mouths, and robust builds. They looked mature and steady. The brothers Shimo and Shimo were holding a shield, ready for battle. Their opponent was a man with long black hair, dressed in a blue outfit. He was tall and slender, with somewhat stiff facial features. He wasn't exactly handsome, but his every move exuded confidence and pride. Yu Xianheng was clad in a blue electric suit, his right arm already in dragon form, swelled up, and his sleeve was torn, covered with fine blue-purple scales. His right hand transformed into a dragon's claw, constantly waving and attacking. Below the arena, several people were either sitting cross-legged or lying on the ground. One person, with short blonde hair and handsome features, leisurely half-reclined on the ground, his eyes fixed on the arena with great intelligence. He was Yu Feng, the flying soul master of the royal fighting team, whose martial soul was the wind chime bird. The man next to him, also blonde, had a beautiful face comparable to a woman's. He was Osro, the agility-type soul master of the royal fighting team, whose martial soul was the ghost leopard. The last one was Yichu's target. Du Yan. She was a 16 or 17-year-old girl, sitting cross-legged on the grass, quietly watching the battle on the arena. Her hair was purple mixed with green, her face was somewhat pale, and she had a voluptuous figure. Her pupils were deep green, and she would occasionally furrow her brows, as if enduring some pain. At the edge of this dense forest, Yi Lingling and Yichu had just arrived when they heard a loud shout. On the arena, lightning crackled, and the lightning on Yu Xianheng's body suddenly surged. Third soul skill. Thunderous fury. With his shout, his purple soul ring flashed, this soul skill increasing his soul power by 50% and his attack power by 100%. He raised his sharp claws and grabbed at the 2 Zuanwu shields flying towards him. Bang! The shields flew back and returned to the hands of the Shimo and Shimo brothers. Members of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, after reaching level 30, would undergo a partial dragon transformation with each soul ring they obtained. Upon reaching level 70, they could transform into a complete dragon, incredibly powerful. At this moment, Yu Xianheng's soul ring was not coiled around his body like other soul masters, but rather coiled around his dragonized right arm. First soul skill. Thunderous Dragon Claw. The first yellow soul ring flashed several times, and Yu Xianheng frantically swung his claws. Lightning burst forth from his arm, condensing into several enormous dragon claws in the air, crushing and covering the Shimo and Shimo brothers. First soul skill. Zuanwu Turtle Shield. X2 The Shimo brothers worked together, their tortoise-shell shields enlarging and overlapping to protect them. Their soul skill could increase their defense by 100%. Bang! Several loud noises followed as the first shield shattered under Yu Xianheng's attack. It's not over yet. Thunder Dragon Claw. Yu Xianheng swung his claws even more vigorously, glancing at Du Guyan below the stage, and then putting on an even more energetic performance. Crack! The second tortoise shell shattered. Bang! The tortoise shell shattered. Shimo and Shimo, quick-witted, immediately jumped off the stage. Yichu and Yulingling, who had just arrived at the edge of the open space, witnessed this scene. Chapter 88 Intentional. Shimo. Are you alright? Yu Xianheng walked to the edge of the arena, a smug look on his face, and peered at the two brothers who had fallen. We're fine. HMPH. If your soul power level hadn't been a bit higher than ours, the outcome would have been uncertain. That's right. My brother is right, Shimo chimed in from the side. At this time, Yu Xianheng had only recently joined the royal fighting team, and his relationship with the others was far less developed than it had become later. Yu Xianheng smiled indifferently. Well, you were just ganging up on us, you. HMPH, the two brothers snorted coldly, speechless. Oh dear, we're all teammates, why worry about this temporary victory or defeat? Yu Feng walked over from the side. With their mentor Qinming absent, he could only step forward and act as a peacemaker. The Shimo brothers didn't say anything more, and walked to the side together to recover their soul power. Yu Xianheng smiled, ignored Yu Feng, and turned to walk towards Du Guyan. TCH. What's there to be proud of? Yu Feng curled his lip, displeased with Yu Xianheng's attitude. Huh? Out of the corner of his eye, he caught sight of a slender black figure, with a man beside him. Yu Feng couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Lingling, why are you so late? And you brought such a handsome young man. Yu Feng's voice startled the others. Especially when they heard that Yulingling was accompanied by a man, they became even more curious. They couldn't help but cast curious glances. Even the Shimo brothers, who were recovering their soul power, were no exception. Lingling, Du Guyan stood up and walked straight towards Yulingling. Yu Xianheng, who had just reached her, was ignored and looked embarrassed. He could only follow. Yulingling completely ignored Yu Feng's voice, which was her usual style. Yichu, who was beside her, also scanned the group. From their appearances, he could already match them one by one. However, when Yichu saw Du Guyan, he was startled. In his memory, Du Guyan clearly had purple hair and green eyes. Now, most of her purple hair had turned green. Could it be that her poison had really taken effect prematurely? Apart from the Shi brothers, the other four people surrounded him. Hey, Lingling, this isn't your lover, is it? Asro stepped forward and carefully examined Yichu. Even he was a little jealous of Yichu's appearance. Asro. What nonsense are you talking about? Want to try my snake venom? Before Yulingling could pay attention to him, Du Guyan, who had come over, had already started to stand up for her. She knew Yulingling's situation, and there was absolutely no possibility that she would bring out a lover now. Sister Yan, I was just joking, I can't stand your poison. Give it to Yu Feng, I think he wants to say something too. Asro. Are you trying to start a duel again? Yu Feng didn't expect to be caught in the crossfire, and shouted that he wanted to duel with him. HMPH, Du Guyan snorted coldly, ignoring them. She grabbed Yulingling's arm. Lingling, you're finally here. Aren't you going to introduce us? Du Guyan's gaze fell on Yichu, and she couldn't help but frown. This guy had been staring at her the whole time. However, out of respect for Yulingling, she didn't react. Yu Xianheng, who had just walked over, naturally noticed Yichu's gaze. Alarm bells immediately went off in his mind. This guy. Could he also be here to pursue Du Guyan? mainly because Yichu's appearance was too good, and he seemed to have gotten involved with Yi Lingling, which made him a little uneasy. "Yanzi, are you alright?" Facing Du Guyan, Yi Lingling's voice wasn't as lonely and empty, it had gained some vitality. "I'm fine for now. By the way, who is this kid?" Du Guyan's voice turned cold after that. The blue-haired guy was still staring at her, his brows furrowed. Yi Lingling turned her head and noticed Yichu's state, about to call out to him. But a voice beat her to it. "Kid, watch your eyes." The voice was filled with anger and arrogance. It was Yu Xianheng. All eyes turned to Yichu. Yichu finally stopped thinking. No matter what, if Du Guyan's body really had a problem, his chances of success would be much higher. Du Gubo must be very anxious by now. "Sorry, I was thinking about something," Yichu apologized to Du Guyan, nodding slightly in apology. Unexpectedly, Yu Xianheng was relentless, continuing to provoke her. "HMPH. Keep your eyes to yourself. If you dare to look around again, I won't let you off. Enough." "Yu Xianheng, this is someone Lingling brought. You better watch your step." Du Guyan's voice was indeed very effective. After glaring at Yichu, Yu Xianheng crossed his arms and stood beside Du Guyan, like a protector of a flower. "This guy, just as Yi Lingling said, is indeed very domineering," Yichu thought to himself, glancing at him before turning his attention away. He had just witnessed Yu Xianheng's attack. The fluctuations in his soul power suggested he had only just broken through to level 35. At most, he could only withstand one of Yichu's Tsukuyomi attacks. If it really interfered with him, Yichu wouldn't mind keeping Yu Xianheng in bed for a month or two. Seeing that he had returned to normal, Yi Lingling introduced him to Du Guyan. "Yanzi, this is Yichu, he's here to see you." Her introduction of Yichu was straightforward, without any attempt to conceal anything. Name, purpose, it was that simple. Nothing else mattered. Yichu stared at Yi Lingling in shock. "Big sister. Can't you just tell her this privately?" He was always trying to avoid trouble, but now things are probably going to be difficult. Sure enough, as soon as she finished speaking, everyone around turned to look at Yichu. The biggest reaction came from Yu Xianheng, whose eyes widened, filled with seriousness. "I wonder which family this guy comes from. Could he have gotten wind of this and come here?" Du Guyan's eyes held curiosity, but even more so, disgust. She glanced at Yu Xianheng beside her, her disgust intensifying. Yu Feng and Oslo, on the other hand, showed more admiration and took a few steps back, as if something was about to happen. Yi Lingling felt Yichu's gaze and met his eyes. Her calm eyes held a hint of encouragement, as if she were telling him to cheer up. Was she doing this on purpose? Yichu suddenly realized, remembering that she had once told him to drive Yu Xianheng away. Looking in Yu Xianheng's direction, he was indeed becoming impatient, his eyes filled with a strong warning as he looked at Yichu. Now that things were out in the open, Yichu no longer bothered to hide anything. "Miss Du Guyan, I have indeed come to see you. I wonder if we could speak alone." Yichu looked directly at her, his voice neither humble nor arrogant, directly extending an invitation for a private conversation. He completely disregarded the warning in Yu Xianheng's eyes. Before Du Guyan could even reply, Yu Xianheng had already made his move. "Boy, what are you up to? Do you think you can just see Yanzi whenever you want?" His voice boomed, and he stepped forward, lightning crackling around him. He looked ready to fight at the slightest provocation. He hadn't even had a chance to be alone with Du Guyan yet. How could he let someone else beat him to it? Especially a rather threatening pretty boy. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89: The Azure Serpent King. Yi Lingling was Du Guyan's best friend, so he naturally couldn't yell at her. But he had no such restraint with this kid in front of him. Looking at Yu Xianheng's appearance, Yichu hadn't expected this guy to be not only arrogant but also so domineering. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan was really all the same. They lacked the strength of a dragon, but they had learned the domineering and arrogant nature of a dragon almost perfectly. Except for that master. Yichu's lips curled up, and he laughed out loud. He looked at Yu Xianheng with the kind of look one would give a mentally challenged person. Since the other party wanted to step on him so much, he wouldn't be easy to mess with. Anyway, He didn't have a good impression of this pro-anal faction from the original work. Offending him was fine. Once he cured Du Guyan and solved the problem of Du Gubo's poison backlash, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, with only one sect protecting Old Dragon, wouldn't dare to do anything to him. Yi Yu spread his hands, adopting an attitude of "What can you do to me? You're meddling way too much. Besides, are you blind? I've already seen it, kid. You're here to die." Crackling sounds of electricity clashing and leaping rang out from Yu Xianheng. As the direct heir of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan, he was here on a mission that couldn't be failed. He absolutely couldn't let this guy ruin it. Enough. Yu Xianheng, what right do you have to stand up for Yanzi? Yi Lingling, Yu Xianheng's expression changed. But seeing Du Guyan beside her, he swallowed his words. Du Guyan also looked at her best friend in surprise. Originally, she wanted to quietly watch the two tear each other apart, but she didn't expect Yi Lingling to speak up for that blue-haired boy. "Yanzi, you decide for yourself whether you want to talk to Yichu. Don't worry about me." Du Guyan glanced at her, and the two exchanged glances. After a moment of silence, she looked at Yichu. "No problem, come with me. Lingling, you come too." "Yanzi, enough. Yu Xianheng, don't call me Yanzi until you can meet me." "Humph." Du Guyan glared at him, grabbed Yi Lingling's arm, and walked towards the nearby lounge. "Kid, where did you come from? I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Some things are not for you to covet." Hearing Yu Xianheng's threatening words, Yichu frowned. He then realized that Yu Xianheng's attitude was really too illogical. If he really just came to pursue Du Guyan, there was no need for him to react so strongly to Yichu. Could he be afraid of Yichu and just go and have sex with Du Guyan? His gun isn't that fast, it hasn't even been fired yet. Yichu felt that there must be something he didn't know. And Yu Xianheng was very likely here for this reason. No wonder Yi Lingling wanted to use him to drive Yu Xianheng away. This guy's pursuit of Du Guyan is definitely not pure. He gave him a strange look, then followed Du Guyan. "Damn it," Yu Xianheng cursed inwardly, then seemed to understand something, and smiled contemptuously. How, his Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Clan had promised so many benefits, yet Du Gubo remained unmoved. He simply didn't believe that this pretty boy could offer anything more valuable than his own sex. Yu Feng and Oslo dispersed. In their view, this kind of jealousy was unnecessary for them. Only the Shimo and Shimo brothers remained seated cross-legged on the ground, quietly cultivating. They followed Yi Lingling and Du Guyan into the rest room. Inside were only a few benches. Yi Lingling and Du Guyan sat together. Yichu sat opposite them. As soon as he sat down, Yichu couldn't help but complain. "Miss Lingling, why are you stirring up trouble for me? HMPH. He already hates you, what's the point of saying all this now?" Yi Lingling's voice was calm. She felt that with Yichu's strength, dealing with Yu Xianheng shouldn't be a problem. "You must have noticed Yu Xianheng's abnormality, right? Indeed, a little. But I don't know why." Yichu spread his hands, somewhat puzzled. "HMPH. Of course, it's because," Lingling, Du Guyan interrupted her, looking at Yichu warily. This made Yichu even more curious. Alright, I won't say any more." Yi Lingling hugged Du Guyan's arm and whispered in her ear. Two women with graceful figures and different temperaments were whispering sweet nothings to each other in the seat opposite Yichu. Yichu couldn't help but look away. Du Guyan noticed Yichu's predicament, and a mocking smile appeared on her lips. "Speak, what do you want with me?" Yichu didn't answer, but looked at Yi Lingling. "Miss Lingling, could you please leave for a moment?" "You want me to leave?" Yi Lingling frowned, not understanding what Yichu wanted to say to Yanzi. Du Guyan was also somewhat puzzled, looking at Yichu with confusion. "Don't worry, I won't harm her. I'm here to save Miss Dugu. Save me." Hearing his voice, Du Guyan was stunned for a moment, then seemed to realize something, her face instantly turning ugly. "Save Yanzi?" Yi Lingling looked at the figure beside her strangely, also noticing her abnormality. "Lingling, you should leave first." Seeing that Du Guyan had also spoken, Yi Lingling didn't insist. After glancing at Yichu, she remembered Yichu's strange abilities. Feeling a little worried, she leaned close to Du Guyan's ear and whispered something. Du Guyan glanced at Yichu, a look of surprise flashing in her eyes. Click, the door to the lounge was closed. Yi Lingling had just stepped out when Yu Xianheng approached her. "Yi Lingling, where's Yanzi? Why hasn't she come out? What's the rush?" "She's only been inside for a short time," She gave him a cold glance, then sat down by the door, waiting quietly. Yu Xianheng could only worry inwardly. Inside the room, Du Yan crossed her legs and leaned back in her chair. Her pale face held a mixture of curiosity and seriousness, her voice cold and menacing. What do you know? I think Miss Dugu's poison is almost uncontrollable, isn't it? Before she could finish speaking, Du Yan couldn't sit still any longer. Suddenly, Du Yan stood up abruptly, her emerald green eyes fixed on Yi Chu, her gaze filled with barely suppressed killing intent. Sure enough, her intuition was right. This guy actually knew the secret of the Dugu family's martial spirit. Yi Chu continued. Not only you, even poisoned Douluo is deeply poisoned. Shut up, Du Yan shouted sharply. Without another word, she activated her martial soul. 3 soul rings, yellow, and purple, slowly rose beneath her feet, and a phantom of a jade-green azure phosphorus serpent appeared behind her, slowly disappearing into her body. The entire room seemed to be filled with a chilling aura. How could this be? You're actually a level 40, 3-ring soul master. Sensing the fluctuations in her soul power, Yi Chu exclaimed in shock. How could this be? Her cultivation even surpassed her first appearance in Soto City in the original story. What on earth is going on? No, Yi Chu's eyes suddenly widened, staring intently at the martial soul behind her. He uttered 4 words, one by one. Azure Phosphorus Serpent Emperor. The phantom of Du Yan's martial soul had 2 small horns on its serpent head. This wasn't an Azure Phosphorus Serpent, this was clearly the Azure Phosphorus Serpent Emperor. Group number 831,821,005. Busy, update later tomorrow. Have a nice day. Chapter 90. Agree. No wonder her poison erupted prematurely, it turns out her martial soul evolved. But why did this happen? How did her martial soul evolve? Under Yi Chu's probing gaze, 2 long, straight legs slowly merged together, transforming into a long snake tail, her slender waist swaying gently to maintain balance. A patch of emerald green, diamond-shaped scales appeared between her brows, her eyes became vertical pupils, and her expression was icy, as if she had lost all human emotion. Du Yan's voice was chilling. Although Lingling told me that your soul skill is quite strange, it seems I really have to see it for myself. Although he wanted to know how Du Yan had undergone these changes, he didn't have the chance. She had already begun to act. A purple light suddenly flashed in Du Yan's eyes, and her purple soul rings burst forth. The scales on her snake tail were covered with a layer of purple poisonous mist. Her voice was extremely cold, and purple smoke billowed from her mouth as she spoke. 3rd soul skill, Azure Phosphorus Poison. Purple poisonous gas erupted, leaving scorched patches on the ground and walls in its wake. A 6-pointed star bloomed in Yi Chu's eyes like a flower. Divine might had been activated. Purple smoke pierced through his body. At this moment, his body was completely isolated from this space, so he didn't need to worry about being harmed by the poison. The purple poisonous mist didn't dissipate, continuing to spread throughout the room, gradually filling the space. Outside the door, Yi Lingling suddenly noticed poisonous mist seeping from the crack in the door. She immediately got up and knocked on the door. Yanzi, don't come in. We were just sparring, Du Yan shouted outside. Yu Xianheng also noticed the commotion, a look of joy flashing across his face. I didn't expect them to actually fight. It seems their negotiations have broken down. Yanzi, call me anytime if you need help. Yu Xianheng also called out inside, then walked away from the rest room. HMPH. Hypocritical, Yi Lingling sneered. Inside the room, the poisonous fog had become extremely dense. But Yi Chu remained steadfast. After a brief moment of shock, he had calmed down. Frowning, he stood opposite Du Yan. Miss Dugu, I think we can have a proper talk. However, she seemed not to hear his voice, as if she had found some amusing toy. Holding the dagger she had taken from her soul tool, she repeatedly slashed at Yi Chu's body. It was like slicing through rotten cotton, without the slightest resistance. A cold smile hung on the corner of her mouth. Is this a soul skill that Lingling has never seen before? It's indeed very strange. But every soul skill has a weakness. I wonder if yours has a time limit. Yi Chu's heart skipped a beat, and he sighed inwardly. As expected of someone taught by a titled Douluo, she actually thought of this. Currently, his divine might did indeed have a maximum duration of 3 minutes at a time, and each upgrade of 1 ring would increase the duration by 1 minute. No one had ever been able to keep his divine might active for such a long time before. Of course, this was also because he had voluntarily chosen to stand here. Miss Douluo, actually I just want to make a deal with Miss Douluo, or perhaps with His Majesty the Poison Douluo. Douluo chuckled smugly. How? Getting anxious? Anxious? Not really. It's not that I can't handle you, I just don't want to lose our harmony. Yichu shook his head, ignoring Du Guyan's expression, and continued. Besides, you're the one who should be anxious. Shouldn't you? Picking at her nails with a dagger, Du Guyan raised her eyelids, looking at him with amusement. What do you mean? Yichu lifted his foot and walked straight in front of her. You stop right there. Seeing him approach, Du Guyan also brandished the dagger in her hand. But she couldn't touch or stop him at all. Yichu suddenly accelerated and passed right through Du Guyan. At the same time, his calm, slightly smug voice rang out. Shouldn't you be anxious? If you can't control the poison, your day of death isn't far off, is it? He stopped behind her, smiling. Besides, you wouldn't want your grandfather to be tortured forever, would you? With her back to Yichu, Du Guyan's smile finally faded. She understood why he had come all this way, to tell her that her soul skills meant nothing to him. He could have simply left. Her playful expression vanished, replaced by seriousness. She turned to face Yichu directly. How? You claim you can save me without any proof? Why should I believe you? Yichu was prepared for this question. Whenever it's cloudy or rainy, Your Excellency Poison Douluo experiences a tingling, itchy sensation in your ribs. Also, around midnight, Senior Douluo experiences needle-like stabbing pains on the top of your head and the soles of your feet, accompanied by spasms that last for at least half an hour. I suppose Miss Douluo has already suffered this pain. Du Guyan looked at him in shock, surprised that Yichu knew so much about their symptoms. This undoubtedly made Yichu's words more believable. Du Guyan frowned, somewhat tempted. Who wants to die when they can live well? Yichu didn't keep her in suspense. What deal? Tell me quickly. I can cure you and your grandfather's poison, but I need Senior Douluo to promise me one thing. Du Guyan frowned, looking troubled. I can't agree to that right now. I can't make decisions for my grandfather. That's all right. You can convey the message, or you can personally take me to see the Poison Douluo. Du Guyan looked at him in surprise, not expecting him to dare to see her grandfather. This made her believe Yichu's words a little more. What does Miss Douluo think? Yichu looked at her calmly. Okay. I can take you to see my grandfather. Without further hesitation, Du Guyan nodded in agreement. It just so happened that Douluo was still in his mansion in Xiandao City after sending her out today. I wonder when. Yichu felt a little happy, as he was one step closer to the ice and fire yin-yang eye. Du Guyan chuckled, playing with her dark green nail polish. Her eyes glanced at Yichu. You can go now. If you dare. How? I wasn't joking just now, but I heard that Poison Douluo's temper is a bit strange. I'll need Miss Douluo's help then. You'd better really have a way to detoxify, otherwise you might be missing something. HMPH, Du Guyan snorted coldly, and the surrounding poisonous mist slowly receded. Watching the slowly dissipating purple poisonous mist around him, Yichu frowned. His time was almost up. Miss Douluo, then I'll go out and wait for you. Without waiting for her reply, he passed through the wall. Du Guyan looked at the wall where he had left, and a plan formed in her mind. Perhaps Lingling's idea is right. This guy really does have the strength. That guy is too annoying. Just as she stepped outside, she almost bumped into Yi Lingling. Yichu. Where's Yanzi? Why are you the only one out? Yi Lingling concealed her surprise, her voice tinged with worry. Phew. Yichu breathed in the fresh air and smiled. Don't worry, Miss Douluo will be out soon. Yu Xianheng stepped forward and questioned, Boy. Where's Yanzi? What did you do to her? Chapter 91 Meeting the Parents. Yu Xianheng. I told you, don't call me Yanzi. Before Yichu could even respond, an impatient voice rang out. Du Guyan had already emerged from the room. At this moment, her face appeared even paler, seemingly due to using her martial soul again. She coldly glanced at Yu Xianheng, then walked to Yi Lingling's side. Yanzi, are you alright? Lingling, I'm fine. Facing Yi Lingling's question, Du Guyan shook her head, her voice softening. Yanzi, I was just worried about you. In a moment of panic, Yu Xianheng forced a smile, his expression strained. It was truly baffling why he, the direct heir of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, had come here to suffer like this. Yichu looked at him curiously. Worried about me? A smile suddenly bloomed on Du Guyan's face, her green eyes fixed on Yichu. Under the watchful eyes of the others. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, and under Yu Shai and Heng's shocked, jealous, and hateful gaze, Yichu felt a surge of intense pressure on his arm. Du Guyan pressed herself against Yichu's side, taking his arm and holding it close. She was pressed against him. The warmth and softness beside her made Yichu slightly stunned. Compared to the girls he had ever been with, her figure was undoubtedly the most outstanding. At 16 or 17, she already stirred a storm in his heart. Pressed against Yichu, holding his arm, Du Guyan wasn't entirely calm either. The faint fragrance wafting from her nose improved her pale complexion. Looking at the still shocked Yu Shai and Heng, she wore a strange smile. Your worries are unnecessary, Yanzi. What are you doing? Yi Lingling's mind didn't quite catch on. Can't you tell? She's already accepted Yichu's advances. Seeing her puzzled look, Du Guyan explained. At the same time, she tightened her grip on his arm, preventing Yichu from taking his hand back. Yichu's struggle sent a shiver down Du Guyan's spine, and her face flushed crimson. She gripped his arm tightly in her arms, her eyes flashing with a mixture of warning and anger. Cough cough, this sudden increase in pressure made Yichu uncomfortable, and he dared not move. He looked at her in confusion, not understanding why she had said that. It wasn't until Yu Shai and Heng's roar rang out that he understood. It was all because of the guy in front of him. Yanzi. How is this possible? Yu Shai and Heng roared in disbelief. His eyes were fixed on Yichu, especially his trapped arm. He wished he could cut it off and take its place. Yanzi, you're lying to me, aren't you? Yu Shai and Heng wasn't completely stupid, he immediately realized this. He looked at her with hopeful eyes. Hearing this, Yi Lingling, standing beside him, finally understood. Looking at her best friend, her pink earlobes hidden by her purplish-green hair, she thought, this sacrifice is too great, liar. Du Guyan resisted the urge to remove Yichu's hand, gently leaning her head towards him, her long purplish-green hair cascading over his shoulder. We already agreed that I'm taking him to meet my grandfather now, meet Senior Dugu. How is that possible? Yu Shai and Heng's face turned green. He'd tried for months, and she'd been completely indifferent to him. What did this newcomer, this pretty boy, have to offer? They'd only been alone in a room for a short time, and he'd already won Du Guyan's favor and was going to meet her parents. He looked at Yichu coldly, a hint of murderous intent flashing in his eyes. If he dared to get in the way, he would have no choice but to send Yichu on his way. What's impossible? Don't you think so, Yichu? She turned her face to Yichu's ear, her voice completely different from her usual coldness. Up, Dugu hiss, Yichu gasped as soon as he was about to speak. Seeing that Yichu wasn't cooperating, Du Guyan tightened her grip on his arm slightly. At the same time, unseen by others, Du Guyan's lips moved slightly up and down. A soft sound, audible only to Yichu, rang in his ear. Strands of hair and warm breath tickled his earlobe. Help me get rid of him, and I'll take you to see my grandfather right away. Looking at her lips and Yichu's slightly reddened ears, Du Guyan couldn't help but feel a little smug. Wasn't this a manifestation of her charm? Yichu had anticipated her request, a bitter smile playing on his lips. To get the immortal herb as soon as possible, he had no choice but to suffer for Yu Shai and Heng. He exhaled a soft breath of warm air and nodded almost imperceptibly. He glanced at Yu Shai and Heng, who was glaring at him angrily. Noticing his face burning, and to make the performance more natural, the power of the blue-silver emperor surged from his heart. The warm, calm, and gentle power slowly flowed through Yichu's limbs and bones. The unnatural heat and discomfort in his body gradually disappeared. Even Du Guyan could smell the aura emanating from him. It seemed to alleviate her pain, her complexion improved considerably, and she couldn't help but move even closer to him. Seeing the two of them practically glued together, Yu Shai and Heng nearly ground his teeth to powder. Yi Lingling also looked at her best friend in surprise, not understanding why she was rewarding Yichu like this. After being cleansed by the power of the blue-silver emperor, Yichu's expression remained normal, as if Du Guyan beside him was nothing more than a painted skeleton. Well, only the tips of his ears still had a little color. That little bit of color, harmless. Yan Yan is right. We're about to meet the parents. His gaze swept over Yu Shai and Heng, whose eyes were gradually darkening, then met Du Guyan's eyes, and he smiled slightly. His handsome face, adorned with a noble and gentle smile, stirred something within Du Guyan, causing her eyes to dart away. Damn it! How is this possible? As the direct heir of one of the three upper sects, he was certainly no novice. He clearly saw the fleeting look of attraction on Du Yuyan's face. Yi Jiu smoothly withdrew his hand, taking Du Yuyan's soft hand in his, their fingers intertwined. He then waved it in front of Yu Xianheng. See? Nothing is impossible. Yan Yan has already promised me. If there's nothing else, please don't bother my Yan Yan anymore. If you do, it'll be impolite, Yi Jiu said. Hearing him repeatedly refer to her as Yan Yan and my Yan Yan, a shy blush appeared on Du Yuyan's face, her other hand clenching into a fist. Yi Lingling stared blankly at Yi Jiu and Du Yuyan, a beautiful smile curving her lips beneath her veil as she watched the two trying to appear calm. Crackling sounds filled the air as electricity surged around Yu Xianheng, who was on the verge of exploding. He had been here, humbled for so long, yet hadn't completed a single task assigned by the sect. Yu Xianheng, is it? I advise you to leave now. Yan Yan is mine. You don't deserve her. Yi Jiu's back was drenched in sweat as he said this. Du Yuyan gripped his clasped hands tightly. The grip painful. Yan Yan. Let's go. Enduring the pain, Yi Jiu dared not say another word, pulling Du Yuyan away. They had barely turned and gone a short distance when Yu Xianheng finally lost his temper. Lightning crackled around him, his martial soul materialized, and his right hand transformed into a dragon. Boy! You're courting death, he roared, the first yellow soul ring flashing on his right arm, and a massive dragon claw reached towards Yi Jiu's back. Yu Xianheng. Are you crazy? Yi Jiu. Watch out! Yi Lingling's shouts came too late. Just as Yi Jiu and Du Yuyan were about to turn around, the dragon claw formed from lightning was already upon them. Not good, Du Yuyan cried out in alarm. She hadn't expected Yu Xianheng to dare to attack, and it was too late to react. Boom! Yanzi, the dragon claw struck with a deafening roar, sending dust billowing into the sky. Yi Lingling's cries were drowned out, and Yu Feng, Shimo, and the others finally turned their attention to the scene. What happened? Yu Xianheng let out a cold laugh. A blinding flash of blood-red light appeared in the smoke. Chapter 92 Little Lizard. Yu Xianheng. Are you crazy? If anything happens to Yanzi, do you think you'll leave Xiandao City alive? Yi Lingling's voice was like a bucket of cold water poured on Yu Xianheng. His previously furious and smug expression froze, a hint of panic flashing in his eyes as he tried to defend himself. I was aiming at that blue-haired kid. Yanzi should be alright, you better be. Looking at Yi Lingling, Yu Xianheng's eyes lit up. Isn't there you here? The successor of the Nine-Heart Begonia was here, and he wasn't targeting Du Yuyan, so she would definitely be alright. Thinking of this, he felt relieved again. With a smug look, he ignored her. HMPH, Yi Lingling was furious and snorted coldly. She could only anxiously look at where Yi Jiu was. Yu Feng and the others rushed over, and the Shimo brothers, who were originally cultivating, were also alerted. Look! What's that? Yu Feng's startled voice rang out, and everyone's attention was immediately drawn to what he was pointing at. As the dust settled, Yu Xianheng's smugness quickly turned to shock upon closer inspection. He couldn't help but exclaim, "What is this? How is this possible? You're actually alright, Yanzi." Yi Lingling's pale blue eyes also flashed with surprise. Then she looked curiously at the scene before her. A blood-red skeleton, resembling ribs, protected Yi Jiu and Du Yuyan inside. The dust dissipated. Yu Xianheng, Yi Jiu had already turned around, looking at Yu Xianheng with an icy expression. The six-pointed star pattern in his eyes flashed with a hint of ferocity. He had no patience for those who wanted to kill him. If he hadn't reacted in time, he might have been seriously injured. Behind Yi Jiu stood Du Yuyan. When the lightning dragon claw struck, Yi Jiu pulled her behind him, shielding her in front of him. At this moment, she was looking at Yi Jiu's back with confusion, staring blankly at the blood-red skeleton enveloping the two of them. What exactly is this red skeleton? A soul skill? Is this all the direct descendant of the mighty blue lightning tyrant dragon clan can do? A sneak attack from behind, holding Du Yuyan's jade hand, Yi Jiu looked calmly at Yu Xianheng, who was still entwined with lightning. So what happened? It turns out this guy ambushed someone, Shimo said to his brother. The two brothers looked at Yu Xianheng with contempt. This arrogant guy. What nonsense are you talking about? I was just blinded by anger for a moment. How can a soul master's actions be called a sneak attack? Feeling the mocking gazes of Yu Feng and the others around him, Yu Xianheng's face burned. He absolutely could not admit to a sneak attack, he would not allow it, and his clan would not allow it either. A moment of anger? Blinded by anger? Yu sneered. He didn't want to argue about the sneak attack anymore, all he wanted to do was thoroughly torture the four-legged lizard in front of him. No, it should still be called a one-legged lizard. You're not happy with Yan Yan's choice, are you? Then, I'll give you a chance. Yichu stretched out his hand, pointing at Yu Xianheng. What do you mean? Yu Xianheng frowned, uncomfortable being pointed at like that. Yichu beckoned to him, his voice cold. Let's fight. If you win, I'll immediately back out. How about it, poor little blue lizard? PFFT. Yichu even laughed out loud towards the end, a carefree and contemptuous laugh. He looked at Yu Xianheng with a mocking expression. Behind him, Duguyan merely raised an eyebrow, looking at Yichu with surprise, not expecting him to be so bold. He'd actually called the blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex a little blue lizard. The surrounding people also changed their expressions, as if they were suppressing laughter. Boy! What did you say? This is a dragon. A blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex, Yu Xianheng roared, his face ashen as he glared at Yichu, his eyes practically spitting fire. He seemed unable to believe his ears. The strongest beast spirit on the entire continent was being called a little lizard? If you can't beat me, what's the difference between you and an insect? How? Then I'll show you the power of my blue lightning Tyrannosaurus Rex spirit, third soul skill. Thunderous fury? Yu Xianheng's eyes hardened, and his third soul ring on his right arm burst forth with purple light. Sparks of electricity erupted from his entire arm, spreading throughout his body. He unleashed his full power from the start. Before anyone could react, he had already reached Yichu and unleashed a punch. Boy! Die! Thud! A muffled sound. Yichu's bloodied ribs remained unharmed, but he himself was forced back several steps. This kind of defense, Yu Xianheng exclaimed in surprise, gripping his numb arm. Put some effort into it. Let me see what a dragon is all about. Yichu smiled at him, confident in the Susanu's defenses. It was definitely not something a soul master could break through. Damn it! Yu Xianheng gritted his teeth. He was determined to tear Yichu's mouth apart today. Don't be so smug. I'll break your shell right now. With a stomp of his foot, he shot towards Yichu again. The first yellow soul ring on his right arm flashed, and a lightning dragon claw, far surpassing the previous ones, slammed straight towards Yichu. Noticing that the jade hand in his palm seemed a little tense, Yichu couldn't help but tighten his grip. Duguyan's face flushed red behind him. Yichu also increased his soul power output. He wanted to finish this quickly. Overloading himself would make him very uncomfortable. Bloodlust filled his eyes, and his body remained completely still, but Susanu underwent a change. Swish! In just an instant, a blood-red hand bone appeared on the skeleton. What is this? Yu Xianheng was dazed. Bang! A gigantic fist shattered the lightning-formed dragon claw hammer. The giant hand continued its momentum, the fist transforming into a palm, covering Yu Xianheng's position. Don't even think about it. Second soul skill, thunderous might, crackling sounds, dozens of lightning bolts materialized around him, continuously blasting outwards. He himself took the opportunity to retreat. Bang! Bang! The arrow-like attacks rained down on Susanu's outstretched arm, unable to budge it an inch. Not good. Whoosh! Thud! Ah! Yu Xianheng screamed, his entire body gripped by Yichu's Susanu. Damn it! What is this? Open! Ah! Yu Xianheng roared. Blood spilled from the corner of his mouth, the lightning on his body surging wildly, trying to break free of the restraints, but to no avail. Yichu, controlling Susanu's arm, pulled Yu Xianheng in front of him. Yo! Has that little lizard who was so aggressive just now calmed down, you brat? Whoever you are, you'd better let me go. I'm, cough cough. Yichu tightened his grip, not wanting to hear his threats. He wouldn't kill him now. Tisk tisk tisk. You're coughing up blood. Fine, I'll do as you say. Yichu's face revealed a cruel smile. Kid? What are you doing? Stop! Yu Xianheng's panicked voice rang out, terror flashing in his eyes. Bang! Susanu's arm rose high, then slammed Yu Xianheng heavily to the ground. PFFT in a large crater, Yu Xianheng spat out a mist of blood. That's not enough. Thump thump thump. Susanu's arm raised its fist, repeatedly pounding on Yu Xianheng, who was still trying to resist in the crater. Gulp Yu Feng and the others beside him all swallowed hard. Looking at Yu Xianheng's miserable state, they had no idea when Sister Yanzi had found such a formidable person. Chapter 93 Dugu Yan's killing intent. Yi Lingling covered her mouth in surprise. She was now certain that ordinary soul masters were nothing to Yichu. Yichu. That's enough, you'll die if you keep fighting. Dugu Yan shook Yichu's hand twice, reminding him. Looking at Yu Xianheng, who was like a dead dog, her eyes flashed with amazement. She could clearly feel that Yichu's cultivation was only level 24. Despite a difference of 11 levels in soul power, he could still easily defeat Yu Xianheng. What kind of monster was this? Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. To prevent killing him, Yichu not only didn't use his full strength, but also kept observing his vital signs with his Sharingan. He exhaled a breath of turbid air, and the blood-red skeleton surrounding the two of them turned into specks of light and dissipated. The blood-red light in Yichu's eyes also disappeared, and there were some blood vessels in the whites of his eyes. The first and second soul skills of the Blue-Silver Emperor, the right leg bone spring breeze regenerate, used all kinds of healing methods. His body and eyes immediately felt a cool sensation. So fragrant, Dugu Yan sniffed, looking at Yichu curiously. To alleviate her pain, she couldn't help but move a little closer to Yichu. Noticing the pull on her hand, Dugu Yan looked at Yichu's actions strangely. He looking at Yu Xianheng lying in the pit, his eyes still fixed on him, Yichu sneered, raising his two interlocked hands, his expression smug, his eyes full of contempt. The result is obvious. Trash like you, a vermin who can't even withstand one of my moves, is not worthy of my Yan PFFT. Yu Xianheng's eyes widened, anger surged, and he spat out another mouthful of blood before his head lolled to the side and he fainted. His sunken chest showed how serious his injury was. Miss Lingling, I'll leave him in your care from now on. I won't feel good if he really dies satisfied with the result he had caused. He then looked at Yi Lingling politely. She only received a glare in return. Knowing that killing him would cause trouble, why did she hide him so hard? Don't worry. With my nine-hearted begonia here, he won't die. That's good, then we'll be going. With that, Yichu pulled Dugu Yan away. Dugu Yan turned back and gave Yi Lingling a wink. Yi Lingling nodded, she knew what that meant. Don't let Yu Xianheng recover too quickly. However, she also gave Dugu Yan a strange look, but Dugu Yan didn't understand, looking at her strangely. Under Yi Lingling's strange gaze, the two held hands and walked into the dense forest. After walking a distance, feeling the warmth in her hands, and looking at her and Yichu's intertwined fingers, Dugu Yan finally realized what Yi Lingling's look meant, and her face flushed. Looking at Yichu in front of her, her voice turned cold. Have you held hands enough? Thud. Yichu paused, his body stiffening. He immediately released her hand and turned around to explain. Haha, his awkward laughter stopped under Dugu Yan's cold gaze. He scratched the back of his head. Sorry, HMPH, Dugu Yan snorted coldly. If she hadn't taken advantage of him first, she would have made the person who took advantage of her taste the power of the jade phosphorus serpent venom. Come with me. She took back her hand, gently rubbed it, and led Yichu towards the outside of the academy. Rubbing her hand, she suddenly remembered the electric shock she felt when Yichu pinched her, and felt a strange sensation in her heart. The place on her chest where he had touched her was still faintly hot. She glanced behind her out of the corner of her eye, her eyes filled with intense curiosity. Just as she was about to ask him, Yichu spoke first. Speaking of which, Yan, cough cough, noticing Dugu Yan's cold gaze, Yichu quickly changed his words. Miss Dugu, Miss Dugu. He gave a forced, dry laugh. What is it? Speak. Turning around, Dugu Yan gritted her teeth. So, what exactly does Yu Xianheng want from you? Yichu used to think that Yu Xianheng was pursuing Dugu Yan simply to add another title Douluo to the clan. These days, there was only one wild title Douluo. Winning over Dugu Yan was like winning over Dugubo. In that case, the old dragon of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan wouldn't have to stay in the clan all the time. His position as the heir, Yu Xianheng, would become more secure. But Yichu didn't understand why Yu Xianheng would risk offending Dugu Yan to make a move. Didn't you know that my martial soul has evolved? Dugu Yan's voice rang out. At first, I also thought you came for the method of martial soul evolution. The method of martial soul evolution. Yichu stopped in his tracks, a bad feeling creeping into his heart. Looking at her back, he quickly chased after her. So how exactly did Miss Dugu's martial soul evolve? How? You want to know? Dugu Yan sneered, stopping and turning back to look at Yichu with a mocking expression. Hell, if you can tell me, I'd be happy to hear, then don't bother." Clearly, Du Yan didn't want to discuss this topic further. Sighing inwardly, Yichu could only hope his worries were unnecessary. The two remained silent, quietly leaving the academy, then hired a carriage and headed towards Yongdao City. In the carriage, the two sat facing each other. A look of pain suddenly appeared on Du Yan's face. Her eyes were closed, her eyelashes trembled slightly, and her face grew even paler. She clenched her fists tightly, clutching the hem of her clothes, gritting her teeth. Yichu frowned, and the second soul skill of the Blue-Silver Emperor, Blue-Silver Fragrance, was quietly activated. Inside the relatively enclosed carriage, a refreshing and invigorating fragrance filled the air. Breathing it in almost greedily, Du Yan's complexion improved considerably, but she still felt somewhat uncomfortable. Yichu, unaware of the unbearable discomfort of the poison's backlash, simply sat down beside her. He placed his hand on her shoulder, activating the Blue-Silver Emperor's first soul skill, Endless Life. Yichu's soul power transformed into life force, continuously surging into Du Yan's body. Feeling the warmth emanating from her body, she couldn't help but let out a suggestive hum, her paleness lessening considerably, even faintly tinged with pink. "Thank you, you're welcome." "It was nothing." Yichu shook his head. Opening her eyes, she looked at Yichu with some surprise. This guy seemed to have used quite a few soul skills already, hadn't he? "Is this also your soul skill?" This is my self-created soul skill." Yichu's expression remained unchanged. "Is that so?" Wiping the cold sweat from her forehead, Du Yan closed her eyes again, mobilizing her soul power to suppress the poison. "What exactly do you want to see my grandfather about? You can tell me first so I can relay it to him." Yichu pondered for a moment, then slowly explained. "Actually, I heard that Senior Du has a medicinal herb field." "Medicinal herb field?" Before Yichu could finish speaking, Du Yan's voice suddenly rose, and her body trembled. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, nothing." The backlash from the poison just intensified. Du Yan's voice became somewhat stiff. Yichu didn't notice anything amiss, assuming she was just suffering from illness. Little did he know that a monstrous storm was brewing in Du Yan's heart. And with it came boundless killing intent. The medicinal herb field. The precious land that the Du family guarded had actually been discovered. The carriage entered Yongdao City and slowly stopped in front of the Du mansion. "Get out, we've arrived." Du Yan got out of the carriage first, followed closely by Yichu. "Yichu, you go wait in the living room first. I'm going to find my grandfather." "Okay." Yichu nodded and followed the servants toward the living room. Du Yan stood at the gate, coldly watching Yichu's back, muttering to herself. "How did you know?" She then quickly walked towards the secret chamber where her grandfather cultivated. The importance of that precious land to the Du family was self-evident. The various herbs within were incredibly rare, and her martial spirit's evolution was largely thanks to the herbs growing there. She needed to tell her grandfather about this as soon as possible. Chapter 94 Benefactor? The Du family was small, with a grandfather and granddaughter often away and few servants, making it rather desolate. Entering the reception hall, Yichu sat down quietly, preparing his conversation with Du Bo. Meanwhile, in a room within the Du residence, a hidden door slowly opened before Du Yan, and footsteps echoed from the dimly lit chamber. Accompanying this was a concerned, hoarse voice. "Yan, why are you back so soon? Has the poison flared up again?" A figure emerged. Tall and slender, resembling a javelin, with dark green eyes and beard, he seemed unreal. His cheeks were slightly sunken, and he wore a gray robe. His stiff expression only softened slightly when facing Du Yan. "Grandpa." Seeing him, Du Yan rushed over. Clearly, this was the poison Douluo, the undisputed master of poisons, Du Bo. Du Bo affectionately stroked her hair. He then pressed down on her shoulders, looking her over from left to right. "Yan, are you alright? If there's anything wrong, I'll take you back to that spring right away." "Grandpa, I'm fine right now." Du Yan shook her head, hesitating to speak. "Yan, what's wrong? Did someone bully you? Was it that brat from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan?" Seeing his granddaughter's expression, Du Bo felt a pang of heartache, unwilling to let her suffer any injustice. "If it really is him, Grandpa will go and teach him a lesson right now. I promise he will never appear in front of you again." "Oh, Grandpa, nothing like that. That stinky lizard, how dare he bully your granddaughter?" Holding Du Bo's large hand, Du Yan's face became more expressive, her words carrying a hint of coquetry. Haha. Yes, that's a stinky lizard. If it weren't for that old lizard's sake, I would have turned him into a pool of blood long ago. Humph, how could he possibly be worthy of my dear granddaughter? Hiss as Douluo's voice fell, a strange little blue snake on his shoulder flicked its tongue and hissed softly, as if echoing Douluo's words. Grandpa's right. He got a good lesson today, Douluo obediently echoed him. Then why do you look unhappy, Yan? Faced with his question, Douluo also put away her smile and became somewhat worried. What's wrong? Douluo also sensed something unusual. Grandpa. Someone found out about our medicinal field. Who? Who is it? Hearing her words, Douluo's green pupils shrank, his heart skipped a beat, and killing intent instantly rose within him. He had guarded this medicinal field for many years and would not allow anything to happen to it. If anyone knew about that treasure land, he would never have peace. I've brought the person back, he said. Douluo relayed everything Yichu had said to Douluo. Douluo frowned, feeling somewhat puzzled. The young man dared to speak so presumptuously about the poison he had been afflicted with? By the way, Grandpa, his martial soul is a pair of eyes. His soul skills are very strange. My snake venom had no effect on him. After explaining Yichu's situation, Douluo couldn't help but complain a few times. A martial soul is eyes. Upon hearing her words, Douluo's previously calm expression suddenly froze. As if he had thought of something, he suddenly became excited, pressing Douluo's shoulder and urgently asking, "Are his eyes blood red? How does Grandpa know?" Douluo looked at him strangely. Could it be that Grandpa knew Yichu? Quick! Tell Grandpa what he looks like. Blue hair, blue eyes, blue hair, blue eyes. It matches. It matches. Could it be our benefactor returning? Douluo excitedly began to mutter to himself. Grandpa! Are you alright? Douluo looked at him strangely. Who exactly was this benefactor? She didn't understand why Douluo was so distraught. Haha. Yan, maybe you really are saved? Come on. Take me to see him right now. With that, he grabbed Douluo's hand and rushed out the door. Yichu, who was sitting in the living room, suddenly sensed a surging aura coming from outside. He immediately stood up. Bang bang bang. The windows and doors were blown shut by a gust of wind. In the hall, only a few luminous pearls hanging from the ceiling emitted a soft light. Yichu's eyes narrowed. In front of him, two figures, one old and one young, suddenly appeared. Douluo pointed at him. Grandpa, this is Yichu. A burning gaze fell upon him. Seeing the gray-robed, green-haired old man staring at him, Yichu naturally recognized him and quickly bowed. Junior Yichu greets Senior Douluo. Silence responded. Yichu raised his head, looking at him strangely. Yichu? Douluo still ignored him, instead scrutinizing him with a hint of reminiscence in his eyes. He murmured, indeed very similar, but, in an instant, his eyes sharpened again, and the pressure of a tidal Douluo immediately exploded. Not good. Faced with his sudden attack, Yichu tense up, his hair standing on end, a chilling killing intent locking onto him. A blur flashed past, and Douluo vanished from Yichu's sight. Grandpa, Douluo exclaimed in surprise. He was perfectly fine just now, even excited to hear Yichu had arrived. Why did he suddenly attack? So fast. A palm strike came from behind. Yichu didn't have time to think. Blood-red light appeared in his eyes, and the tomo transformed into a six-pointed star. A palm glowing green pierced through Yichu's back and through his chest. Yichu reacted quickly. Using the ghost shadow steps technique, he immediately rushed forward. The movement, the turn, was seamless. In the dim environment, Yichu's eyes shone brightly. Two red streaks flashed through the air. The bright blood-red light shone as Yichu fully activated his Sharingan, staring intently at the grandfather and granddaughter in front of him, not daring to relax for a moment. Yichu? Douluo looked at Yichu's eyes curiously. Just one glance at the blood-red light made her somewhat dazed, her eyes becoming unfocused. She began to move slowly. Senior. What do you mean by this? Yichu felt a sense of unease. Douluo's speed had been too fast, he had almost not been able to react. Douluo was still in the stance of striking, this was merely a test. The aura and killing intent emanating from him had vanished without a trace. Staring blankly into Yichu's eyes, the memories in his mind became increasingly clear. In a daze, it was as if he saw an old friend. A figure slowly overlapped with Yichu before him. My benefactor, Yichu frowned, unsure of Douluo's meaning. So alike. Looks just like him, only the martial soul is different. Douluo also frowned. Yichu's eyes were somewhat different from the person he remembered. He carefully examined him again, confirming, and then nodded. There was no mistake, this was the person he had been waiting for. Yichu, right? You don't need to worry, I just want to see your martial soul, see a junior's martial soul. Yichu looked at him strangely and with surprise, a tremor running through him. Hearing his words, it seemed he had seen Sharingan before, and it was an eye different from his own. Yan. What happened? Chapter 95 The Lecture. Before Yichu could finish his thought, Douluo's surprised voice rang out. Yichu then realized that while his attention was focused on Douluo, Yan had unknowingly walked to his side. Her eyes were misty with pink, staring blankly into Yichu's eyes. Her expression was like that of a lovesick woman, flushed and dazed. Seeing this familiar state, Yichu immediately understood why she was like this and thought to himself, this is bad. If you were to openly disrespect someone's granddaughter, wouldn't Douluo poison him? Yan murmured Yichu's name, opening her arms to embrace him. Back off, Yichu immediately tried to retreat, but she also moved quickly, catching him in a tight embrace. He groaned, slightly out of breath, his newly gathered soul power almost dissipated. Sensing her movement, his blood-red eyes narrowed and flickered. Soft, cold lips were already pressed against his lips. She lightly bit her lip. Yan, Douluo stared in shock at the scene, his mind reeling. His beloved granddaughter had actually done such a thing in front of him? How could this be? Douluo quickly realized something was wrong. Boy! What did you do? He rushed towards Yichu. Seeing Douluo approach, Yichu immediately became alert and pushed away the burning body embracing him. A sharp pain shot through his lip, and without hesitation, he stepped back. He touched his lips with his index finger, finding a trace of blood on his fingertip and a few teeth marks on his lips. Yan, Douluo caught Yan, who had almost fallen to the ground, and shook his granddaughter vigorously. In a moment, she regained her senses. Grandpa! What happened to me? Yan was a little confused, patting her head with her hand. Grandpa wanted to ask you something too. Ask me. Yan pursed her lips, suddenly tasting a slightly metallic sweetness in her mouth. That brief memory, like a heat wave, swept through her mind. In the blink of an eye, she transformed into a beautiful steampunk goddess, her originally pink face turning completely red, her neck and earlobes not spared. She flung Douluo away, her face full of rage. Yichu, her green pupils, slightly misted from the heat, stared intently at Yichu, uttering his name word by word. You lecherous scoundrel! What kind of vulgar soul skill is this? She glared at Yichu and roared. She had heard Yulingling say that his soul skill seemed to be able to control others, but she never expected to fall for it. He even dared to make her kiss him in front of her grandfather. Soul skill, a cold glint flashed in Douluo's eyes. His gaze towards Yichu was no longer as friendly as before. Senior. Miss Douluo, this is all a misunderstanding. It's because, Yichu quickly explained, but couldn't come up with a coherent explanation. How? Can't say it now. Yan gritted her teeth, her martial soul already possessing her. She rapidly twisted her waist, controlling her snake tail to drag along the ground. You scoundrel! I'll kill you today. The purple soul ring swirling around her body flashed a bright light. Third soul skill, azure phosphorus purple poison. A stream of poisonous mist was condensed into a poison arrow, which she swiftly shot towards Yichu. Miss Douluo. Calm down. This is because my martial soul is somewhat special. I didn't mean to. Swoosh. The poison arrow pierced through Yichu, striking the stone pillar behind him, emitting wisps of purple smoke, which dissolved in an instant. Come down? After her martial soul possessed her, a cold smile appeared on Yan's eerie face. What do you expect me to do to calm down? Douluo watched quietly from the side, observing Yichu's expression. He felt that Yichu wasn't lying. Furthermore, Yichu's soul skill, which could penetrate objects, made a strange light flash in his eyes. As expected, this guy is definitely a descendant of my benefactor. Thinking of how he obtained his 8th spirit ring, those miraculous spirit skills, his mind immediately stirred. Under the relentless attacks of the femme fatale, Yichu continuously activated his divine might, while also keeping a watchful eye on Douluo, who hadn't yet made a move. You die. Yan's hair was disheveled, and her breathing was erratic. Yichu sighed as he watched this scene. He scanned his surroundings, searching for a place where the poisonous fog was thinner. The timer for his divine might needed to be reset. Senior Douluo, I can help Miss Douluo detoxify. I also have a way to deal with your poison. Yichu ignored the now mad Douluo and turned to Douluo Grandpa. Help me catch him. I must kill him. Douluo remembered her grandfather was still nearby. Alright, Douluo gave a strange smile. What? Yichu was shocked. Why wasn't this guy playing by the rules? Did they need to detoxify themselves? Whoosh! Douluo joined in, reaching out to grab Yichu. Unsurprisingly, he too grasped at nothing. Senior. Are you going to watch your granddaughter perish? Hairhead. Kid. Let me catch you first. Douluo chuckled faintly. Yichu frowned, watching the situation spiral out of control, his intention to retreat growing. He quickly distanced himself from the two of them. Reaching a corner untouched by the poisonous fog, a vortex appeared in his eyes. Trying to run? Hell. Seeing this, Douluo laughed even harder, as if he'd witnessed something delightful. The familiar skill animation only fueled his excitement. 8th soul skill, time freeze, not good. Yichu's eyes widened in panic, a sense of urgency rising within him. Buzz! With Douluo's voice, 9 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 5 black, rose beneath his feet. The 8th soul ring flashed, an invisible ripple spreading outwards. Everything in the hall seemed to freeze. The drifting poisonous fog was suspended in midair. Yichu froze in place, still in his previous pose. Yan is finally saved. Walking up to Yichu, Douluo didn't really intend to harm him. He simply patted the back of his head. Thump. Behind him, Douluo suddenly groaned, her face turning deathly pale, and collapsed to the ground. Yan, Douluo immediately rushed over and caught her in his arms. With a flick of his sleeve, the doors and windows opened again. The space lit up once more, the poisonous mist drifting outwards, and Yichu lay limply on the ground. Yan. Are you alright? Douluo called out anxiously. Douluo's condition was dire, her face was ashen, and she was sweating profusely. She was on the verge of fainting. Douluo quickly grabbed Yichu by the collar and stuffed him into his magic pouch. Carrying the poison-ridden Douluo, he flew towards Sunset Forest. Group number 831,821,005. Requesting votes and positive reviews. Wishing everyone a happy life. I'll try to update 4 chapters in one day before the 30th. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, Level 94. Douluo, moving at full speed, stormed into Sunset Forest. Reaching a vast clearing, he hoisted Douluo onto his shoulder and formed strange hand seals. Suddenly, the space distorted, and the figures of Douluo and his granddaughter vanished from their original positions. After an unknown amount of time, Yichu opened his heavy eyelids on a small bed. Ouch, that hurts. He sat up, rubbing the back of his head. Looking around, Yichu had no idea where Douluo had brought him. Before him was a simple wooden cabin. Besides the bed Yichu was lying on and some tables and chairs, there was nothing else. Yichu got up, stretched, and checked his body. Thankfully, nothing was missing. He stepped outside. Click. As soon as he opened the door, a comforting aura washed over him. His blood seemed to boil. Thick water mist filled the surroundings, rising and undulating in the air. Where is this? Yichu stared blankly at the scene before him, tilting his head back to look around, rubbing his eyes in disbelief. His eyes turned bloodshot, the pupils glowing purple. His gaze pierced through the mist, revealing the scene within. In his vision, there was a spring, its waters a clear distinction between red and white. Right there within the thick mist. And this mist originated from the very center of the spring, at the boundary between the scorching red spring and the icy white spring. Great! I finally found it. After confirming repeatedly, Yichu exclaimed joyfully. The yin-yang well of ice and fire. The place he had searched for so long was now right before his eyes. Yichu was in an inverted cone-shaped depression, surrounded by hard rock walls. A thin layer of misty water shrouded the sky, but it didn't affect the light here at all. At the bottom was a flat area, with several small wooden houses built along the edge. In the center was the spring, surrounded by various medicinal herbs, fragrant fairy herb, fiery apricot blossom, eight-cornered mystic ice grass, and heartbreaking red of longing. Looking at the shimmering array of these divine herbs, Yichu almost couldn't resist picking them. Boy! You woke up so quickly, a hoarse voice sounded beside Yichu. Yichu immediately became alert, and looking back, he saw that Douluo was already standing next to him. Senior, Yichu bowed to him. Since he had woken up and Douluo had brought him here, his safety was naturally not a concern. Moreover, judging from Douluo's earlier self-talk, it wasn't hard to tell that he seemed to have some connection with him. Thinking of this, Yichu couldn't help but look at Douluo again, his eyes filled with curiosity. How does my granddaughter taste? Douluo sneered, looking at Yichu with a mocking gaze, a hint of fierceness flashing in his eyes. Senior, I really didn't mean it, Yichu smiled bitterly. How could he dare to make a scene with the titled Douluo's granddaughter in front of him? With his current strength, how could he dare? HMPH. I bet you don't have the guts, Douluo snorted coldly, withdrawing his restless soul power. Then he pointed ahead to the location where wisps of water vapor were rising. You recognize this treasure land? Yichu nodded. Yes, this place is called the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Eye. Douluo stroked his dark green beard, looking at Yichu with an I-knew-it expression, and nodded in satisfaction. Follow me. Yichu followed him to a wooden shed next to several wooden houses, with a simple roof supported by pillars at the four corners. There was a low table underneath, with a pot of hot tea on the table, and several futons around it. The two sat cross-legged facing each other. Douluo personally poured Yichu a cup of tea. Thank you, Senior, Yichu thanked him, but made no other move. How? What? You dare come to see this old man, yet you don't even dare drink a sip of tea? This junior is simply not thirsty, Yichu spoke truthfully, sitting opposite the titled Douluo, his back ramrod straight, appearing somewhat reserved. HMPH. You have no manners at all. As an elder, I personally poured you tea, how could a junior like you refuse? Smack, Douluo snorted coldly, slamming the teapot heavily on the table. How? Yichu chuckled dryly, picked up the teacup, and took a sip. The tea in the cup was crystal clear, a pale emerald green, exuding a rich, refreshing fragrance. Just one sip felt as if he had drunk this tea 1,000 times, the pure and peaceful aroma rushed straight to his head. How is the tea? Is it good? Yichu nodded honestly in response to Douluo's question. Hey, hearing Douluo's eerie laughter, Yichu shuddered, goosebumps rising all over his body. Do you know why this tea is so green? It's all thanks to my 9-section jadeite. Douluo's icy voice was like snow in February, chilling Yichu to the bone. The small snake on his shoulder flicked its scarlet tongue at Yichu at the opportune moment. Several black lines appeared on Yichu's forehead, his face turned ashen, and he stared at Douluo with a forced smile. Senior, it's best not to joke like this. Tap. Tap. Douluo ignored him, simply waiting quietly, lightly tapping the table with his hand, as if counting down the time until the poison took effect. Before the stalemate had lasted long, Yichu was almost about to stick his finger into his throat. Ha ha ha! Douluo suddenly burst into hearty laughter, a barely perceptible schadenfreude in his eyes, as if he had avenged a great grudge. Not bad, not bad. Few seeing him like this, Yichu breathed a sigh of relief. He was almost exposed as a coward. Boy, is your father alright? Stopping his laughter, Douluo picked up his teacup and took a small sip. Yichu was taken aback. I've never seen my biological parents since I can remember. Douluo frowned. Do you have any other elders in your family? I've been an orphan since I was young. I was adopted by my grandfather, but before I entered the Junior Soul Master Academy, my only grandfather had already passed away. That shouldn't be the case. With your benefactor's strength, Douluo was somewhat surprised by Yichu's statement, tugging at his messy dark green beard. Yichu also looked at Douluo strangely, many questions in his mind. Could it be that you've met Yichu's biological father? Yes, Douluo nodded, looking at Yichu with a hint of melancholy in his eyes. I met him once more than 20 years ago. I was only just reaching level 80 then. And now I've reached level 94, this is all thanks to my benefactor. I can never repay his kindness in this lifetime. Senior is level 94, Yichu couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. How could Douluo be level 94? He should be level 92. HMPH. What? Doesn't it seem like it? How could it be? Yichu realized he had misspoken and his voice became somewhat hesitant. Douluo glanced at Yichu indifferently and then ignored him. Yichu's curiosity was piqued. How could Douluo confirm his identity? Furthermore, what kind of kindness could make Douluo feel that he could never repay it in this lifetime? By the way, how did you determine that I am the descendant of your benefactor, HMPH? With your martial spirit alone, I couldn't possibly be mistaken. Douluo's voice was somewhat excited, as if he was recalling some extraordinary scene. My martial soul. Yichu reached up and touched his eyes. That's right. Your blood-red eyes, although different from your benefactors, are extremely similar in their soul skills. Moreover, the two of you look 7 or 8 parts alike. Yichu sat there stunned, Douluo's voice echoing in his mind. Not only does he possess Sharingan, even their appearances are similar, but his appearance was clearly modified by the blue-silver bloodline. Chapter 97 Familiar Hand Seals. Seeing Yichu's stunned expression, Douluo stood up, hands behind his back, gazing at the sky at a 45-degree angle. His voice carried a mixture of awe and a hint of smugness. Kid, do you know how I got my 8th spirit ring, a sacrifice? You know, Yichu murmured, looking at the teacup on the table. It seemed like a guess, yet also an answer to Douluo's question. Douluo, with his back to Yichu, had a glint in his eyes, thinking to himself, as expected. This kid really does possess abilities similar to my benefactor. After a moment of silence, a different thought formed in his mind. That's right, it was the sacrifice of Medusa, the queen of snakes, who had lived for 70,000 years. Just a glance from her, and she willingly gave her life. Douluo's voice was leisurely and resonant as he gradually fell into reminiscence. That day, my benefactor descended from the sky, wielding a blood-red longsword. Saving me from danger, after saving my life, he even helped me hunt for my 8th soul ring, breaking through to level 83 in soul power, and also obtained a skull. Afterwards, my benefactor transformed this ice and fire yin-yang well into a secret realm, and instructed me to guard this place. Awaiting your arrival, Douluo said, then turned around and gave Yichu a deep look. A blood-red longsword? A secret realm, Yichu murmured, raising an eyebrow. He had some doubts about the blood-red longsword, but had no concept of the secret realm. Boy, come with me, Douluo called out to Yichu, then soared into the air, flying towards the cliff. Is he testing himself? Looking at the smooth, steep rock face around him, Yichu stood up, his right leg emitting a faint light, and slowly rose up, chasing after Douluo a soul bone. Its age seems quite high. No wonder it's a descendant of my benefactor. Douluo glanced back, his eyes showing only surprise, not a trace of greed. Douluo had been waiting for a while when Yichu arrived. Tisk tisk. Not a bad opportunity, how? Just a lucky break for the kid. Yichu exchanged a few words with Douluo standing there. Yichu realized it was actually a mountain, and he was standing on the summit, which resembled a volcano. Looking into the distance, the sunset forest was bathed in a golden glow, dreamlike and ethereal, truly deserving of its name. Something's not right. Yichu sensed something was amiss. There was no poison array set up around the ice and fire yin-yang eye, not even any concealment. How did it escape his detection back then? Looking at the surrounding environment, Yichu clearly remembered that he had definitely explored this place. Yichu made a move to rush down the mountain, but Douluo stopped him. Is it strange? Judging from your appearance, you've already searched Sunset Forest yourself. Douluo stroked his long beard, smiling at Yichu. Yichu could only chuckle awkwardly. After all, he had planned to take it without asking. I really don't know what's wrong with you. If you've never met your benefactor, how do you know about this place? Come with me. Douluo only made a sarcastic remark about this, not giving it much thought. With his benefactor's unfathomable eyes, leaving behind some kind of backup plan was easy. Wasn't that what happened to him? Without anyone noticing, he had taken several more lives. Come closer. Hearing Douluo's words, Yichu, though puzzled, moved closer. He felt a heavy spiritual force envelop him. Looking at the hand seals Douluo had formed, a sense of familiarity washed over him. Shocked, his pupils dilated, and his eyes twitched slightly. The hand seals were. Douluo quickly completed the seals, and the surrounding space seemed to transform into a clear lake, ripples spreading and engulfing the two figures. Oh. Looks like you recognize these hand seals. In the sunset forest, as dusk fell, a hoarse voice rang out. Douluo and Yichu appeared on the vast open space they had just been on. Hearing Douluo's words, Yichu nodded numbly, his lips twitching, trying to laugh but unable to. Cold sweat even appeared on his forehead. Could it be that his so-called father, whom Douluo mentioned, was also a transmigrator? This was too bizarre. How could such a thing appear in this world? This behavior was truly. But shouldn't you look around first? Douluo had no idea what Yichu was thinking. Around us, Yichu looked around, his eyes widening. Where's that mountain? Hearing Yichu's exclamation, Douluo smiled with satisfaction. He liked this kind of expression. Back when Yan Yan came, her reaction was even more intense than Yichu's. He himself was even more pathetic. Douluo would never forget that day. With just a glance, he uprooted the entire mountain and stuffed it into a special rift, isolating it from the outside world. People outside couldn't see the scene inside, nor could they enter. People inside could see the outside, but that was all they could see. To enter or leave, they had to perform these special hand seals. How about it? This is the secret realm. Yichu finally understood why he couldn't find the ice and fire yin-yang eye. It wasn't even in the same space anymore. It would be a miracle if he could find it now. Alright. Let's go back. After showing off, Douluo led Yichu back, and in the blink of an eye, the two of them reappeared in that volcano-like place. Senior Douluo, since cough, having suddenly gained a father in this world, Yichu was really not used to it. Why hasn't your poison been cured? Sigh, Douluo sighed, somewhat helpless. Just as my benefactor was about to tell me the antidote, an accident happened, and he left in a hurry before he could finish explaining. Turning to Yichu, he grabbed his shoulder. But it's alright, now that you've found us, our poison can be cured. Where did he go? I don't know. I haven't seen my benefactor since then, but I suspect his disappearance is related to the spirit hall. Yichu frowned. This was getting stranger and stranger. It was even connected to the spirit hall? Douluo continued to add. More than 20 years ago, during a battle of spirits, I personally witnessed a blood-red longsword in my benefactor's hand appear in the hands of Bibi Dong, the current pope of the spirit hall, who was then the holy maiden. This was also the last time a clue about my benefactor appeared. Bibi Dong. Yichu's expression changed, and he suddenly remembered the strange things that had happened to Uzaya Gang. Uzaya Gang's deception of the holy maiden had become common knowledge. Senior, have you heard of Uzaya Gang? Is he related to this matter? Huh? You actually know that good for nothing? Douluo looked at Yichu in surprise. However, I don't know about that. Douluo stroked his chin, thinking carefully. I remember. It was not long after that battle that I heard the holy maiden Bibi Dong's personality change drastically, and she became a ruthless killer. Uzaya Gang provoked her around that time and was imprisoned and tortured for a full 6 months before being thrown out of Wuhan City. It caused quite a stir back then. Even the old dragon coming to demand his release couldn't stop him. Yichu naturally knew who that old dragon was. Uzaya Gang's biological father, Thunder Douluo Yuanzhen. This junior has one last question. What was his name? At the time, my benefactor called himself Yixiu, group number 831,821,005. Wishing everyone a happy life. Chapter 98. Fiancé? Without asking further questions, Yichu followed Douluo down the mountain, a sense of unease creeping into his heart. The world seemed to have undergone changes he was unaware of, and the future appeared increasingly uncertain. Should he investigate these matters himself? After all, that guy named Yixiu seemed to have a real connection to him. Feeling the wind lessen as they approached the bottom, Yichu's feet hadn't even touched the ground when he saw a somewhat weak Douluo emerge from a small wooden hut near the spring. Looking around but seeing no one, he rubbed his eyes. Then, Douluo appeared before him. Grandpa, she cried, running and throwing herself into Douluo's arms. Yan Yan, how are you? Are you alright? Douluo smiled, clearly in a good mood. Douluo shook her head. It's alright, I'm much better now. Grandpa, where's that scoundrel? Did you catch him? I'm going to teach him a lesson. Even after waking up, her face was still a little pale, and recalling that scene, her face still burned. Back then, she had actually bitten and gnawed at that guy. He deserved to die. Not far behind her, Yichu, who was slowly descending, heard her voice and didn't dare to utter a sound. Although Douluo had gone from wanting to kill him to only wanting to teach him a lesson, this did relieve Yichu. But he was in the wrong, and Yichu still felt a little guilty. He felt guilty. Haha. Of course, Grandpa caught him. Douluo looked at Yichu with a playful expression. Look. Isn't he right behind you, Senior Douluo? You? Seeing Douluo pointing at him with a gloating smile, Yichu couldn't help but feel embarrassed. Did this old guy not like watching the show? Yichu. You lecherous scoundrel. Douluo turned around and immediately rushed towards Yichu. Miss Douluo, I really didn't mean to. Yichu quickly switched to his kaleidoscope mode. Douluo, on the other hand, went back to the wooden shed, sat down, and sipped his tea. He didn't forget to remind Douluo, Yan. Don't use your martial soul anymore, be careful of the poison backlash. I know, Grandpa, Douluo replied, already rushing in front of Yichu. The dagger that slashed at him was green, clearly coated with deadly poison. Miss Douluo. Isn't this necessary? Yichu looked speechlessly at the sharp weapon in her hand. You call this a lesson? What do you mean unnecessary? You bastard. That was my first kiss. Douluo frantically slashed at Yichu, but couldn't hurt him at all. Douluo's anger only increased, and her green pupils, even without her martial soul being activated, became sharp. Douluo, meanwhile, stood to the side, seemingly deep in thought. His eyes would occasionally glance at Yichu, then at his granddaughter, before he'd nod dismissively. He muttered something under his breath. Yichu, if you're so capable, then don't use your shameless soul skill. Douluo was panting heavily, drenched in sweat, her clothes clinging to her delicate body, revealing her curves. Her hands rested on her knees, exposing a glimpse of her cleavage. Their figures overlapped, Douluo unwilling to leave for a moment. Senior Douluo. You should try to persuade her. If this continues, she won't be able to take it, Pa. Grandpa, ignore him. Help Yan catch him. Otherwise, I'll pluck all your beard hairs, PFFT, cough. Douluo, who was sipping tea nearby, choked on his tea and finally stopped thinking. Cough. Douluo coughed a few times, seemingly preparing his words. Yan. Actually, given your relationship, there's no need to care about this kind of thing, Grandpa. What do you mean? What do you mean don't care about this kind of thing? That was my first time, cough. Hearing Douluo's words, Yichu couldn't help but cough. How could she be going so far? Just as he was about to explain, he was glared at by Douluo's beautiful eyes. Douluo smiled mysteriously and gave Yichu a meaningful look. Because you are his fiancé. Actually, my benefactor and I had already arranged a marriage for you two. What? X2 Yichu looked at Douluo in a daze. When did this happen? Why didn't you mention it earlier? Douluo looked at Yichu in shock. This scoundrel was actually her fiancé? What a joke. Senior Douluo. Don't talk nonsense. At that time, Miss Douluo and I didn't even know where we were. How could we have arranged such a marriage? Yichu naturally expressed strong doubt in opposition to this matter. What? You don't think I'm lying to you, do you? Bang! Douluo slammed his hand on the table, his face contorted with anger. He said seriously, this is a verbal agreement between your father and me. If we have children of marriageable age, we are willing to become in-laws with our benefactor. He agreed back then. I certainly don't believe you would lie to me, Senior. Feeling Douluo's imposing presence, Yichu didn't dare to speak carelessly. So you mean you're willing? Douluo's voice softened. Grandpa. How can this be? This guy is no good. I don't agree. Douluo reacted quickly, glaring at Yichu before running to Douluo and shaking his shoulders vigorously. Yan. Don't be ridiculous. This is also something your parents agreed to. It's their last wish. Knowing he couldn't withstand his granddaughter's persistent pleading, Douluo unleashed his ultimate weapon. Upon hearing about Douluo's parents, she seemed much calmer. She looked at Douluo in disbelief. Grandpa, you're lying to me, aren't you? Why have I never heard you mention this before? How could Dad and Mom agree to something like this? Douluo didn't dare look her in the eye. It's true. Your parents' lives were spared thanks to the methods left by our benefactor. The golden melon you stole was the betrothal gift from our benefactor. At this point, Douluo's voice even became somewhat harsh. Who knows how angry he was when he found out that his granddaughter had stolen the golden melon. To her, it was a deadly poison. If Yichu hadn't appeared in time, he might have really been burying his child. He was just venting his anger now. Douluo, who rarely got yelled at by Douluo, stood there stunned, her eyes turning red, stubbornly looking at Douluo. Then she looked at Yichu, tears flashing in her eyes, her complex gaze even carrying a hint of murderous intent. But after a moment, it slowly dissipated as if she had resigned herself to her fate, gritting her teeth and slowly lowering her head. Boy. Don't worry about Yan Yan, just give me a straight answer, do you accept this engagement or not? After dealing with Dugu Yan, Dugu Bo asked Yichu. Oh, cough cough, looking at the inconsistent expressions of the grandfather and granddaughter, Yichu felt immense pressure. The Sharingan in his eyes disappeared, and he respectfully said to Dugu Bo, please forgive me, senior, for being unable to comply. Boy. What do you mean? Does my Yan Yan not deserve you? How could that be? Miss Dugu is naturally beautiful, knowledgeable and refined. Cough cough. Yichu had never praised a girl much before, and he was a little tongue-tied. After reorganizing his words, Yichu became serious. Miss Dugu is very good. I already have someone in my heart. And it seems there's more than one, you brat. Dugu Bo almost slammed his fist on the table. He didn't expect this guy to be such a womanizer. After weighing his options, he glanced at Dugu Yan beside him and forced himself to speak again. HMPH. What do 3 wives and 4 concubines matter? As long as my Yan Yan is the eldest, that's all that matters. Chapter 99 Potential Stocks. After Dugu Bo finished speaking, Dugu Yan stared at her grandfather in shock. She was utterly bewildered. Why, even after all this, did he still insist on making her marry Yichu and fulfill that ridiculous marriage contract? Then, a fierce glint flashed in her eyes as she bit her lip and glared at him intently. How? Yichu chuckled bitterly. Well, the young man's age is really inappropriate. Miss Dugu should be 16 or 17 already. Enough. Bang. Dugu Bo slammed his hand on the table in front of him, shattering it. Even Dugu Yan glared at him with hatred. This bastard was actually showing her utter disdain. His excuses were so flimsy. Boy. You should at least come up with a decent excuse. Dugu Bo was furious. This kid was truly ungrateful. Even Yan Yan had been charmed by him. A simple nod would have gotten him a beautiful wife and a titled Douluo as a backer. And this kid was still making all sorts of excuses. Senior. Yichu isn't lying. I had a fortuitous encounter before, so my body grew a bit faster, and I looked no different from an adult. Whoosh. Dugu Bo flashed to Yichu's side, grabbing his wrist to examine it. Huh? You really aren't lying? He looked at Yichu with surprise, his eyes filled with satisfaction. Such a young great soul master was quite rare. Dugu Yan was also somewhat surprised to see Yichu so easily crush the level 35 Yu Xianheng at such a young age. Then she snorted coldly, her eyes still filled with hatred. Even so, it didn't change the fact that he was a lecherous scoundrel. And a womanizing bastard at that. Dugu Bo released Yichu's hand. Seeing his troubled expression, Dugu Bo knew he couldn't push him too far. With his hands behind his back, he stepped past Yichu and sighed. Sigh. Forget it. It's your own business, you can handle it yourselves. I won't interfere any further. Yichu breathed a sigh of relief. This was really too difficult. He was still a little suspicious about why his father would arrange such a marriage for him. At this moment, Dugu Yan walked up to Yichu, her expression icy. Am I making things difficult for you, Miss Dugu? Ah, Yichu had just opened his mouth when Dugu Yan raised her fist and glared at him. HMPH. You scoundrel. Seeing Yichu covering his eyes and bending over, Dugu Yan shouted again. She silently ran back to her room. He, Dugu Bo, who had been observing the two of them out of the corner of his eye, saw his granddaughter's reaction and chuckled softly. He had achieved his goal. With this fictitious marriage in place, even if they hadn't originally intended it, something would inevitably arise, and they would inevitably have various interactions. He had also told Yan Yan that this was her parents' intention, so Yan Yan would probably take it to heart. It won't work out? It's alright, with him here, nothing unexpected will happen. The Dugu family is definitely investing in Yichu, this promising stock. Even the creator god couldn't help him, Dugu Bo said so. Turning back, he looked at Yichu, whose left eye had a slightly purplish-blue tinge. Cough cough, Dugu Bo coughed a few times, his smugness turning to disappointment, and turned back to look at Yichu. Kid? Are you alright? I'm fine. Yichu activated his right leg bone, and the purplish-blue tinge around his eye slowly disappeared. That's just Yan Yan's temper, don't take it to heart. Yichu shook his head. It was indeed me who took liberties with Miss Dugu first. Since you're alright, let's talk about the antidote, okay? I understand. Dugu Bo strode into the shed, suddenly realizing he had smashed the table there, so he led Yichu into the room. The two talked for a long time in the room. Yichu had already explained the solution to the poison to Douluo. After learning more, Yichu understood why Douguyan's poison backlash was so severe. It turned out that after consuming the Earth Dragon Golden Melon, although her martial soul immediately evolved into the Azure Phosphorus Serpent Emperor, the medicinal effects hadn't been fully absorbed, and her martial soul was still evolving, transforming from a serpent into a dragon. No wonder the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan sent Yu Shai and Hang to approach her. They must have discovered the clues to her martial soul's evolution. I shouldn't have told her about the Earth Dragon Golden Melon's effects before, Douluo sighed helplessly. To ensure his granddaughter could have a happy time, he hadn't told her the secret of her deadly poison. Senior Douluo, rest assured, I will do my best to cure you both. However, I need some herbs from around the ice and fire yin-yang well, Yichu readily agreed, while also remembering his original purpose for coming here. I'm relieved to hear that. As for those herbs, they're yours anyway, you can handle them yourself. Douluo waved his hand, not particularly interested in the herbs. After all, apart from that large chrysanthemum, he didn't recognize any of those things. Besides, once Yichu became his grandson-in-law, wouldn't those things still belong to the Douluo family? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but let out a cackling laugh. Kid. But after Yan Yan's poison is mostly gone, you'd better help her get a powerful spirit ring. After all, she's your fiancée. Douluo looked at Yichu with a smile. Although he didn't know much about Yichu's abilities, he could tell from his benefactor. Because of the Earth Dragon Golden Melon, Douguyan had broken through to level 40 early on, but she hadn't dared to acquire a spirit ring, lest the poison worsen. Now it seemed like a blessing in disguise. He glanced at him speechlessly, increasingly suspecting that this so-called marriage agreement was something this old man had made up himself. Senior Douluo, please don't say such things. As for Miss Douluo's fourth spirit ring, I will definitely help. After all, she still lacks a spirit bone to store poison, HMPH. Boy, what's wrong with my Yan? Douluo said unhappily. Alright, seeing that Yichu still wanted to argue, Douluo waved his hand impatiently, not wanting to say anything more. HMPH. You should go and rest first. There's no rush for the antidote, okay? Then I'll go and rest first. Yichu bowed and took his leave. Stepping out of the room, Yichu discovered that moonlight was still shining down. This barrier was truly wondrous. Walking towards the room where he had been lying when he first arrived, Yichu suddenly stopped. He saw a graceful figure standing there near the ice and fire yin-yang well, by the milky white spring, under the faint light emitted by the exotic flowers and herbs. She stared blankly at the half-filled pool of cold spring. Yichu was about to walk over when he remembered something and hesitated, so he stopped and continued walking towards his room. Then, still feeling uneasy, he said, Miss Douluo, the ice and fire yin-yang well is surrounded by two extreme forces. Standing there for too long might harm your health. You should go back and rest. After saying this, Yichu looked at her quietly for a few seconds. Seeing that she didn't move, he frowned, opened the door, and went into his room. Damn it! That brat, Douluo, watching from the window, cursed under his breath, very dissatisfied with Yichu's inaction. He quickly came out of the room. Chapter 100 The Frozen Father and Mother. Douluo, holding a garment, walked to Douguyan's side and draped it over her shoulders. Yan go back. Douguyan didn't speak, tears welling in her eyes, freezing into frost on her face. Her body trembled slightly, yet she remained fixed on the half-filled, milky white spring. In the pool, two rectangular blocks of ice floated, each encasing a man and a woman. The man's hair and eyebrows were dark green, and his appearance somewhat resembled Douluo's. The woman's beauty, while not stunning, exuded nobility, and she resembled Douguyan herself. These two were Douguyan's parents, Douluo's son and daughter-in-law. Douluo looked at the pool, sighed deeply, and placed his hand on Douguyan's back, using his soul power to dispel the chill. Grandpa, Douguyan's voice trembled. She turned her head shakily, looking at him earnestly. Tell me the truth, that so-called engagement. Did my parents really agree to it? Yan, Douluo hadn't expected her to ask this, and after a moment of silence, he finally spoke, his eyes fixed on Douguyan without flinching, his voice slightly hoarse. That's right. You and his wife have already agreed to this marriage. After saying this, Douluo suddenly felt a heaviness in his heart. Du Yan stared at him blankly for a long time, her green pupils showing no emotion, revealing neither joy nor sorrow. Yan understands. Finally, Du Yan slowly nodded. After saying this, she was about to walk towards the wooden house when she stumbled and almost fell. Her legs were almost frozen, but thankfully Douluo caught her. Yan. Are you alright? I'm fine. Douluo supported her while using his soul power to dispel the cold from her body. They slowly walked to the edge of the wooden house. Douluo seemed to sense something, and suddenly looked at Yichu's room, letting out another cold snort. Du Yan followed his gaze and saw that Yichu's window was still shaking, as if it had just been closed. She stared blankly for a few seconds, then lowered her eyes and continued walking towards her own room. Inside Yichu's room, he was leaning against the wall by the window. Clearly, he had been watching outside the whole time. Yichu let out a soft breath and climbed onto the small bed in the room. Since everything was alright, he should rest early. Outside, Douluo had already come out of his room. He was walking step by step towards the cold spring, and as he got closer, a layer of frost formed on his eyebrows. Looking at the two motionless figures inside, Douluo felt a pang of sadness. It's all my fault. If it weren't for this poison in my body, you wouldn't be like this. Douluo had spent his entire life dealing with poison, and in the end, his cultivation had almost led to the destruction of his family. Now, Yichu appeared before him. This was their family's hope. Yan, don't blame Grandpa, it's all for your own good. He stood there for a long time, until late at night, before returning to the wooden house. Yichu walked out of the wooden house, stretching his body with his head tilted back. The morning sun shone down, making the mist in the air particularly noticeable, reflecting shimmering light. Adjusting his breathing, he looked at the ice and fire yin-yang eye in the distance and slowly walked towards it. Today, he planned to first take the 8-cornered profound ice grass and the blazing apricot blossom. He needed to resolve the antidote for Grandpa and Granddaughter Douluo first. Now was a good time to adapt to the surrounding environment, to avoid any accidents when picking the herbs. The 8-cornered profound ice grass grew in the center of the cold extreme yin spring, a rare and potent cold poison. Even from 10 meters away, one could feel its chill. It was octagonal in shape, with tiny, shimmering stamens in the center like ice crystals. Yichu circulated his profound heaven technique as he approached it. A layer of white frost gradually settled on his long blue hair, and his exhaled breath instantly solidified. Yichu didn't dare linger. According to Tang Sen, staying too long would cause the cold poison to attack his heart, rendering it incurable. He stopped abruptly, slapping his forehead. I must have been half asleep. A 6-pointed star appeared in his eyes, and his figure became somewhat ethereal. That's fine. Just as he was about to walk halfway along the shore to check on the fiery apricot blossoms, he saw two ice coffin-like objects floating in the cold spring. Yichu easily recognized their faces. These must be Senior Douluo's son and daughter-in-law. No wonder Douluo is standing here. In the distance, the space beside the wooden house rippled, and Douluo, who had gone out, appeared there. He saw Yichu standing foolishly beside the spring from afar, and couldn't help but urge him on. Kid, what are you doing standing so close? Come over here. He had guarded this place for so many years, even he didn't dare linger over there. Startled by Douluo's call, Yichu snapped out of his reverie. After glancing around again, he headed towards the wooden shed. The low table had been replaced, now laden with the food Douluo had brought back. Senior, why are you up so early? Douluo's face turned cold, clearly still troubled by last night's events. I'm old, I can't sleep, Yichu chuckled awkwardly, pointing towards the spring. Speaking of which, Senior, who are those two? That's right, those are Yan's parents. Knowing Yichu had seen everything, Douluo saw nothing more. Seeing Yichu's curious gaze, he continued, both of them had their life force frozen by a contingency plan left by our benefactor before they died, hoping to see the light of day again. As he spoke, Douluo's eyes remained fixed on Yichu, filled with anticipation. I see. Yichu stroked his chin, curious about what kind of soul skill could freeze life force. Thinking of Douluo's state last night, he thought he might help her if the opportunity arose. Noticing Douluo's intense gaze, Yichu felt immense pressure and a sense of unease. Alright, stop standing there, go call Yan for breakfast. Douluo withdrew his gaze and didn't say much, simply dismissing him. I know, Yichu replied helplessly. He walked to Douluo's door, raised his hand, and was about to knock. Creak. The wooden door opened. Douluo in front of him seemed to have slept poorly, looking somewhat haggard, her eyes red and swollen, her purplish-green hair a little messy. She forced a smile, her voice muffled. Miss Douluo. Breakfast is ready, She laboriously lifted her eyelids, glanced at Yichu, then looked away, avoiding him as she walked out. Awkwardly touching his nose, Yichu followed behind. Yan, come sit down quickly, I bought your favorite dishes, you caught a chill last night. After dinner I'll brew some medicine to warm you up, okay, thank you, Grandpa. Douluo nodded slightly and sat down cross-legged at the table. Seeing that she had no desire to speak, Douluo looked at Yichu, who had just sat down beside him. Kid, can you drink? Want to have a drink with this old man? No, I can't drink. Yichu waved his hand in refusal. He didn't want to black out again. HMPH. He can't even drink. Douluo sullenly took a big gulp. During this time, the group didn't exchange many words. The atmosphere became silent. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.